And here we are, going to start the stream. Hopefully everything's quite all right with the stream. Just gonna check it out quickly. And the HD, yeah, looks really good. Hey everyone, nice to have you guys and girls live once again. So I'll do this, and we're almost there. Here, and here we go. Hey, welcome everybody. Nice to have all of you here. This is the Shortwave radio show. We are on every week, alternating Fridays and Saturdays. And of course, we have all sorts of little things we do today. We're going to tune around some of the shortwave signals. I have some news and some good news for shortwave. And I also will I have tons of newbie questions that I've gathered because I've, as I do the shortwave show, of course, I very often do, I get questions from newbies. And so I think today we'll have a newbie questions and answer, basically. We of course will, I think for anybody that starts in the hobby, I think we do need from time to time to revisit the basics of listening to shortwave. And I think, even when you've listened for a long time, you can easily miss out on a little detail here and there that's like, oh yeah, it works like this. So this is a show that we have every week, like I said. So today's the Saturday show. It means the next show will be on Friday. So hope you guys will enjoy the show as usual. So my name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and I hope you guys enjoy. The length of this show is not official. There's no, official length. We've gone 3 hours, and we've gone 5 hours, and it depends on the show. Sorry for the audio today. The audio will be a little echoey for very, very simple reason. My wireless mic is not working well. It has extremely low audio, so I couldn't use it. So I am using my laptop's integrated microphone for now. I don't want to put the headset on. So this is going to be a little echoey compared to the normal show probably, but hopefully it's going to go well. So welcome everyone. Nice to have you guys on board. Here we're having very, very diverse weather. We've been having a mix of really cold days, rainy days, and really warm days. It's a very, very bizarre spring until now. Yesterday was like 22 degrees, 23 degrees. Today's like 20. The day before was 24. Now tomorrow's going to be 6. 6. And we're going to have rain, a lot of rain. They've announced, they've actually given us some weather warnings because of the really big quantity of rain we're going to get. And we already have here a lot of problems because of the melting snow and already all the rain we had. The rivers are really swollen up, and hope that it's not too bad because it's gonna really rain like a hell. So basically, we are of course talking about shortwave radio. I want to say hello to everybody in the chat. So I want to say hello to Michael Bott. Nice to have you here, DKA, sorry. PLF, hello there, nice to have you here. Scotty Tier 6, really waiting for his ICOM ICR 8600. Nice to have you here. We have John Ritson, hello there, nice to have you here. MDK2, Jerry DX, nice to have you here. You're probably having the rain we're going to have now. Vensterbank, hello there. Brett Wayne, KC2 NXP. Radio Cruncher, nice to have you here, Radio Cruncher. Guy Kesnell or Guy Kesnell, Carl Sanson, nice to have you here. Ethan Best, Mick H, The Vaults, greetings. 1990 Sunbird, Sean Fahey, hello there. Bradlow, nice to have you here. K5BDL, Bobby Burgess, nice to have you on board. Also, I don't know, Richard Cook, nice to have you here. Prepping Ohio, Luis Arevalo, and nice to have all of you on board for another Shortwave show, which, who knows, would be kind of cool to see it beat the last record of 105 live viewers last time, 2 weeks ago actually, which was a Saturday evening. So we'll see. We're at 48 right now here on the counter, so we'll see. So cool. Hey, William Helms, nice to have you on board. I hope you're okay also. Data Dude, nice to have you here. Sheldon Harvey, hello, welcome aboard. So I've got a little bit of interesting news. You know, in these times of stations leaving shortwave, I think it's cool when we have a few positive news about shortwave. First of all, Argentina will be starting May 2nd. So starting Tuesday, it will be relayed by WRMI. And this is cool because, you know, Argentina is one of those stations that's very difficult to receive here. And lately they've been off the air because they have some transmitter problems. And they will come back via Argentina when their transmitters are fixed. But for now, interesting, and also another interesting part of this. First of all, starting May 2nd, you'll be able to hear Argentina in Spanish, Monday to Fridays, 22 to 2300 hours UTC on 5950 kilohertz. So that's the Spanish. And we will have English, Tuesdays to Saturdays, 01 to 0200 hours UTC on 9395. You know, you guys, I don't know if you've noticed, but 9395 has been lately pretty much all day music. I think they kind of lost that that show that they had there, which was you know, a True News thing. So nice to see they're using it for other things now. So English from Argentina will be aired via WRMI 9395 Tuesday to Saturday, 0102 UTC. This all starts May 2nd, and they have a special QSL card for anyone that will actually send in a report. They want to know how you know, the signal is going to make it in North America. I think this is also very cool because it is something that is very, very nice that we have that. True, I forgot to mention this, but like Ethan Best says, 5950 is going to point towards Latin America, but 9395 is pointing towards North America, and it's 01 to 02 UT for English and a special QSL card. So we gotta listen, and we got to send those reception reports. Let's show them we are listening. Hey, Nick Havendout from Romania, hello there, nice to have you here. E Crosby 413, nice to have you here, thank you very much. We have Namasan ITN, hello there, nice to have you on board. And of course, Mike Bot, Kevin Y, hello there. And Ethan Best, of course, nice to see you all here. So it's really cool. Argentina, while they are fixing the transmitters, we don't know how long this is going to take. But also, you know what? Even if they do fix the transmitters, I think they maybe they should think about, you know, keeping that relay, because one of the biggest problems with Argentina hasn't really you know, made a great signal to North America. And I think it's mostly because they have a bad setup, because you know, just look at Brazil, how Radio Nacional Amazonas, how it's giving a really powerful signal. So there's no reason for Argentina, even though it's a little farther, to not have a good signal. I think they have really I think they have old transmitters and antenna farms that maybe need to be kind of refreshed. So we'll see when they fix the transmitters and everything. But for now, I think it's pretty cool for now. And usually PLF is asking a question. Says, "Is Radio Argentina Exterior pointing to Europe also?" Usually when the transmitters work, they have that 15345 kilohertz frequency that is for Europe in different languages. But now, they from what I hear, they're totally off shortwave for now, while they fix the transmitters. And so WRMI will only have the relay for Latin America in Spanish and for North America in English. But 93.95 might make it to Europe, even though it's kind of middle of the night over there. But I think it's good news. I'll be one of the first to want to try that on Tuesday for sure. And you send them a reception report, and it's one of the questions actually that I have for today, because it's a question I get regularly. And like Luis Arevalo says, how do you send a report to shortwave stations? I'll explain a little bit more about sending a reception report to get a QSL card, how it works. It's going to be one of the questions today that we're checking out. By the way, anybody that right now or during the show is listening to some signal and wants you want me to tune it on my icon here, just let me know. We'll try it out and tune around to see if I can hear it. Visman, hello there. Nice to have you here. San Antonio, Texas. Pretty cool. And nice to have everybody here. Yep, for that question of WRMI, 11580 and 15770 are often heard in Europe. And I'm talking about WRMI here, and one of the frequencies for North America that is in my own listening experience a very, very good frequency to tune regularly is 11580. Here in North America, we've got some great relays on 11580. You can hear Radio Prague, Radio Slovakia, Radio Ukraine. There's DX shows like AWR Wavescan and Glenn Hauser's excellent World of Radio show. So, all of that relay. There's PCJ Radio. There's a lot of cool things to listen to on 11580. Up here in Montreal, 11580 is the one that's making a pretty good signal throughout the evening. So it's really, really a great frequency to listen to. Jello Radio, hey there from Germany. Nice to have you here. So it's one of those frequencies and stations that's extremely, extremely cool. And it's really fantastic that they have all these relays, actually. Another, we might say, comeback to shortwave. Radio Tirana, that left shortwave from Albania, is coming back via WRMI also. Now that's another one, but it's a little difficult on this one. But I don't know, we'll see what type of signal it actually gives us. I believe this is directed pretty much central to Western North America, but yes, 93.95, by the way, probably is making it into UK from time to time. So Radio Tirana will have its English language Monday to Saturdays, 5850 kilohertz, 5850 kilohertz. This one's already started. It started actually, I believe, yesterday. Or the day before, but I think it's yesterday. Yesterday was the first day that they did it. Radio Tirana via WRMI, Mondays to Saturdays. And that's 5850 kilohertz, 2300 hours UTC. That is 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And so Radio Tirana English for 30 minutes, 5850 kilohertz. That's going to be really, really cool. Day before yesterday. Okay, thanks, Ethan Best. I didn't remember the exact date. And so really, really nice to have this. Radio Tirana's back via WRMI. Argentina will be hopefully an easy listen via WRMI. And another thing also that I've been checking out, a lot of people have been receiving Vanuatu in vernacular and local languages over there. About starting at 0600 hours UT and plus. A lot of reports from North America, from Vanuatu, which is a pretty good DX country here. 7260 kilohertz apparently. So I guess I'll have to one of these nights either stay up late while 06. I'll stay up late, or get up early in the morning. I gotta try that 7260. Hopefully I can maybe receive it here in Montreal. So I've heard a lot of people in the west coast of North America receiving it quite well, even with just a portable receiver. And but Vanuatu 7260, so nice DX thing here. So hey, that's really cool news, and I think it's fun to see that we're having a few more stations back on shortwave, and with hopefully good enough signal for us to listen to. It's really, really nice to be able to listen to the to these stations. It's kind of cool. So trying to I hear this noise that's coming from somewhere, but I don't know where. I think it's from outside, or it's from my computer maybe. I don't know. Somebody's doing something. Anyways, sorry. So anyway, really, really cool to see stations coming back, and the shortwave bands, and we have a nice offer here once again. We have Sheldon Harvey, which is the president of the Canadian International DX Club. The CIDX Club is a club, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember the date or the time that it started. Was it, if my memory serves right, wasn't CIDX like born in something like 1962 or something like that? Just remind me, Sheldon. I might be wrong, but I'm trying to remember. But it's been on for a long time, and I'm actually a member now again, and it's very, very inexpensive. They have an electronic bulletin every month, and so as Sheldon mentioning, if you'd like to have a free sample copy of the monthly electronic news bulletin or newsletter from the Canadian International International DX Club, CIDX, you just have to send an email to cidxclub@yahoo.com. So cidxclub@yahoo.com. Ask for a free sample. They'll send it gladly, and they will, of course, you'll see what it looks like. It's a general bulletin of, they have all sorts of, there's pretty much every radio subject is covered from the first page to the end. International broadcasts, QSL cards, medium wave DXing, long wave DXing, everything's in there. It's like, and every month there's some cool and great little articles and stuff, loggings from members, all sorts of cool stuff in there. It's a nice little bulletin, and I really encourage anyone to ask for a sample copy. And you know what? Maybe you'll be hooked and want to subscribe to their membership to the Canadian International DX Club. And it is, of course, being sent to you via email every month. So it's pretty cool. And 1962, it's the 55th anniversary this year of Canadian International DX Club. Wow, 55 years. Pretty cool. So and yeah, that's the cool thing. Last time we did this, there were quite a few new members to the CIDX, so it's pretty nice. And hopefully, we'll mention that a little later again to the audience. By the way, Ethan Best says also that Radio Tirana is on 6005 kilohertz. That's true. I saw that. Forgot to mention it. They are relayed via, I believe, Germany. Yeah, they are relayed via Germany with a 1 kilowatt transmitter on 6005 kilohertz, 1930 to 2000 hours UTC. So that's also another. That's a good chance for Europe, even though it's not super strong. It should still cover, part of Europe, 1930 to 20 UT, 6005 kilohertz. Christian S, nice to have here. He says that KBS Radio wants to stop to use African transmitters. If they start with African transmitters, it will continue with others. Yeah, listen. KBS is South Korea, and one of the things that I always say and I hate is the fact that KBS World Radio is on 15575 not packing a good signal into the east coast of North America. It's been a difficult station to copy lately, and I wish they would start using maybe some relays. I don't know, maybe via WRMI. Why not? Because they're really not packing a very good signal lately. And since they don't change that frequency in the wintertime, it's almost nothing. Hey there, one amigo. Nice to have you here. So basically, I think it's just every time, and we're going to start with that subject, because when you hear a shortwave station, I think that in these days where shortwave broadcasts getting a little more difficult to receive, when maybe some stations out there are right now saying, why do we continue using this? There's a lot of that thinking, and Radio Australia is an example of new people getting into these stations and getting where there's important decisions to be made. And the younger generation that gets in, for them, shortwave radio is kind of that thing that they don't understand why it should continue, because as we heard with Radio Australia, the comment they made was, hey, shortwave radio is that old thing that nobody listens to. And I think saying that is very short-sighted. You miss out on exactly what is shortwave radio, and a comment like that for me is somebody that really doesn't understand what shortwave radio is all about. And so one of the things that I want to say here, if you listen, let's try to make it and I'll participate to this also. Okay, from now till next Friday when I have my next show, let's all get into the habit of this week, write to your favorite shortwave stations. Let them know you are listening. It's one of the important parts. If they get a lot of emails or letters by mail and see that people are listening in, they, of course, will want to continue. So, you know what? Let's, this week, make it a little contest here. And next Friday, I'll ask you guys as a question, what are the stations you've written to this week? So I haven't written to a shortwave station in the past month or two. So you know what? This week is the time. I'll be sending in some reception reports. I'll be sending in some hello. And you don't have to ask or send a reception report if you don't want. You can just say, oh, I listen to you regularly on this or that frequency, and tell them what you think of the programs, what you like, what you don't like. When reception's bad, one of the things that is something to do also is, let them know. I will write KBS this week. Okay, I'll send them a letter this week, an email, and I'll let them know. 15575 is not that great. There must be something you can do to improve this signal. And you know what? A station that transmits like KBS that doesn't really make it well, maybe we could give a suggestion of, there are stations like WRMI in the United States that'd be happy to relay them. and it would be a great thing to do. So this week, let's all write into a station. Let them know you're listening, that you like their programs, and I'll do the same thing for here too. I've not been doing that. I've not been doing that lately, so I think it will be a good idea to let them know that I am listening and we are there listening for sure. And of course, we'll talk about the QSL cards in a few moments. Ralph Bender, hello there from Germany, and since week proud owner of the Ephedry. I hope you love it. It's a nice little device, I gotta say. Love it. Just love it. Carl Sanson Saint Gilles in the US, the 86R ICOM RE600 is moved back to the middle of May, beginning of June for FCC approval. Still waiting for mine, pre-ordered 2 months ago from Universal Radio. Oh man, that's you know what? That's the hardest part, I think. Hey Jerry DX, nice to have you here, by the way. It's one of those things, when you're waiting for that radio that you want. Man, time is just so long. So, hey there, Simon Templar, the Saint, yeah. Greetings for Portland, Oregon. Nice to have you here, Simon. Jumpo Bumper, hello there from Denmark. Nice to have you here. So, Sean Faif says, if it's lower frequencies for the day and higher frequencies at night, where is the line between within the 2 to 160 meter range? That's the start of the frequency ranges for day and night use. Well, okay, you know what? First of all, it's the reverse. It's low frequencies during the night and higher frequencies during the day. It's the other way around, technically. But shortwave isn't set in stone. You can't say this is the line of after that frequency it's always night, and this is the line that it's always day. It kind of varies. It goes around a lot. It goes along a lot with the season that we are in, with all sorts of propagation phenomenon that can happen. For example, sporadic E-skip can give you 10-meter openings smack at midnight, even though it's dark. So there's a lot of things that happen with that. So there's no definite line of where, I'll put it as a kind of a standard. Let's do a above 10 megahertz daytime, below 15 megahertz nighttime. So you see there's a zone 10 to 15 megahertz that is a mixed zone where it mixes into day and night, but it's not focused that well. It's very it's not that simple, unfortunately. So hopefully it's not gonna the best thing to do is to just do a listen, okay? And one of the things that you should absolutely do basically is listen to every frequency at any time of day or night, because you will have surprises. You'll have some surprises, big surprises of, wow, I can listen to something on that frequency at this time. For example, a very simple thing that happens, the more you are closer to the poles, like here in Canada, we're higher in latitude, and basically the day in the wintertime is short, and the sun being at a lower angle in the sky. You know what? You'll be surprised to hear 7 megahertz with European signals at, right smack in the mid-afternoon. But if you are listening in the summertime, when the sun is very high, days are very long, you'll notice that 7 megahertz at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, you won't hear a European signal there. It's going to be pretty much empty or very localized in signals. So It depends a lot on a lot of factors. It's the day and night. Yes, it's the winter, summer, where you live, and it's just a very something that you just have to tune around. And there's no definite or no official place or frequency or time. Listen in, just tune around, and that's it. Just tune around. So it's depending on where you live around the world, and the length of day and night, and there's so many differences, so many things that happen. There's all sorts of phenomenons. I was talking about sporadic e-skip that can happen. That you'll listen to a station in the 10 meter band at 28 megahertz, right smack in the middle of the night. There's also the you gotta watch the map, the world map, and look at the gray line and where it's dark and where it's daytime. Very important, and that will give you propagation from some time, a certain period, a certain frequency. So for an example for that, here I always say Radio New Zealand is on 15720 is my summertime listening. Why? Because usually starting in mid-May, in May, June, July, and August, basically, it's the time where 15720 comes in. Around 11 p.m. midnight local time. It's often one of my listens before going to bed. I'll set up on the balcony outside and just listen to Radio New Zealand with their news and Pacific news and all of that. For their midnight local time, which is 0400 UT. And even though it's pitch dark, packs a good signal because, the big chunk of the path of the signal is in daytime, and it's a summer thing. The same midnight listening at in December will just give me nothing. In December, 15720 is not really audible in the East Coast. So there's all of that happening, and there's a lot of things like that you got to take into account. Randall Klontz, nice to have you here. Barnwave SWL, hello there. What else do we have? F. Blassie, nice to have you here. Thank you very much for the nice comment. PA1SBM from the Netherlands, nice to have you here. Cosmic Lettuce, hello there. Please talk about some reasons why shortwave should exist in the internet age. Greetings from Southeast Arizona. For several reasons. First of all, it does not require you to have a computer, an expensive computer. It does not require you to have a paid service for internet. We gotta remember one thing: we're not all equal on this planet. Okay. My internet bill here costs me about $100 a month for the speed that I get. I don't. There's a lot of people that can't afford that. There are people that just can't afford even the basics of internet. There are countries where the internet is bad or way too expensive for pretty much everyone, which means listening on shortwave is a must. It's an easy way to just distribute a program to somebody in another country, and it's also inexpensive for the guy or the girl that wants to listen to. You can have shortwave reception in a very cheap portable radio. We've seen it with the Texan R9012, not even $20, and I mean it picks up shortwave. It's the basics of radio, but it picks up shortwave signals. And you know what? A lot of people have these portable receivers. There are millions and millions of shortwave receivers out there. You got to remember that. It's an easy way to get in touch with an audience somewhere else. And a great example of this is Radio Australia, when they stopped broadcasting on shortwave because they think it's not useful. We saw all those Pacific Island communities that actually are mad at this because saying, hey, when there's a hurricane when there's tropical storms, when there's earthquakes, when there's or just when you're like the fishermen, they'll have a radio on their boat or stuff like that. You can listen in to what's happening, and easily, quite easily, because when the stations are well set and the frequencies are well chosen. A lot of these stations, look at Radio Romania here in Eastern North America. It's an easy catch. And I mean, it is one of the ways to get your audience easily. And last but not least, remember that shortwave versus the internet. Okay? The internet, if we go to war or if something happens, can be controlled easily. You can easily block, and we see it with many countries around the world. You can easily block things or websites or streams that come from countries that you don't wish that you could listen to. Countries have an on-off switch for the internet. There's no on-off switch for shortwave. Yeah, there's jamming, and a lot of people say, "Well, there's jamming." Well, we know from experience, in the 70s and 80s when the USSR was jamming, there was spending billions of dollars jamming frequencies on shortwave to prevent broadcasts, from like the BBC or Radio Canada or the Voice of America to go through. Well, what we know is that jamming is not perfect. Yes, one day you'll jam successfully. Look at China right now. They're jamming a lot with those fire drakes and stuff. Well, we know from experience, yes, some days it will block the transmission, but it doesn't every day. Why? Because propagation on shortwave is always changing. So it is a means of keeping in touch and saying hello to the world easily. So for sure, So you got to remember that. For sure. Like Ethan Best says, trans-equatorial signals can make things interesting too. There's a lot of phenomena on the radio frequencies that can do so many things, and that's for sure. You just got to tune in. Hey, 03 Jaco, nice to have you here. KD2NLD, nice to have you on board. What's the difference between the PL600 and PL660? Mainly there's not that much difference, except the PL660 has a synchronous detection, which is not on the PL600. It has a better audio than the PL600, which has a very harsh audio. Overall, if you have to choose between one or the other, PL660 is a better choice than the PL600. But as for the sensitivity and everything, they're probably very close. Maybe a little bit of edge on PL660, but I would say if you have to buy one, just buy the PL660. You'll have a better radio. You'll have a better radio. Romanian English on 6170. Somebody was mentioning that Kuwait was coming in quite well. Let's check it out. Barely hearing Kuwait on 15540. Barely. But yesterday I was listening to I listened to Radio Kuwait for at least a good 2 hours. And as we're getting closer to the summertime, we're probably going to get a better overall signal from 15540 from Kuwait. That's also an example. Radio Kuwait has this tendency to often keep that 15540 frequency all year, and in the wintertime, 15540 is almost inaudible in North America, but it is in the summer. It's one of those things where you see that propagation is very, very different. Okay, what else do we have here? Let's just check it out. What else do we have here? Anything else that we are checking in? I'm checking in for the questions and everything. So, that's like Simon says, disaster areas. When there was this earthquake in Nepal, was it an earthquake or a storm? I'm trying to remember. Anyways, they had a disaster in Nepal. Stations kind of find out suddenly that, oh, you know what, we'll increase our shortwave radio output because we can really, help and make a difference. There's a lot of people that have radios that can listen to shortwave around the world. I don't remember what's the number, but there's like more than 1 billion shortwave radios out there. It's something that still exists, and it's extremely cheap. It's extremely cheap for anybody, and you don't need a subscription to receive, shortwave signals. I can say that. And yes, nice discussion for sure. And the Russian woodpecker, those jammings from USSR with the Morse code IDs and everything was wow. Yes, the woodpecker, I do remember. Listening to that signal, and the woodpecker would show up suddenly. Richard says nothing on 15540. Hey Antoine, K3DY, nice to have you here. And he's in Las Vegas today. So, Happen Gigaparts just opened their store today. A few receivers there for sale. So, cool. And thank you, 73. Hey David Arden, nice to have you here, as usual. What else do we have? PLF says, yes, there was an earthquake in Nepal. Thanks, PLF. I thought it was an earthquake, but I wasn't sure. PLF says KBS has a strong signal from Wolferton usually. Yeah, in Europe, you guys have a good reception of KBS. Actually, I'm a little, I'd say that I'm a little jealous of you guys in Europe that have several stations relayed with great signals. Over there. Also, some of the Asian signals are, for some reason, frequencies and distance probably, easier to hear in Europe. So there's a lot of stuff that, I sometimes like to tune an SDR in Europe, through the internet to listen to some of those relays like Voice of Mongolia and stuff like that. So, Eric Manitoba, hello there. Nice to have you here. Pretty cool to have everybody on board. And so, okay, what do you do when you write a station? Okay, first of all, there are several ways that you can write a station. One of the ways is to simply, find their postal address and send them a snail mail, in an envelope with a letter, like good old days. I used to do that a lot in the 80s and 90s before the internet was there, and that you suddenly can find in email stations. You can of course email most stations today. They pretty much all have email address. Some are a little hard to get or to find, but if you go around the internet, you should find some. One of the advantages of having a reference like the World Radio TV Handbook is that you have usually emails and contact information that is very up to date in the latest editions of the World Radio TV Handbook, and for that it is an amazing source of information. And basically, you can send either email or a letter to a station, and even some stations say that you can basically you can call in or even fax them for some. It depends, but usually today one of the easy ways is email. I remember, in the 80s, sending out so many letters. I was thinking about if I had to send as many letters that I was sending to stations back in the 80s today, with the much higher postal costs. Man, it would cost a fortune today to do the same level of sending letters to stations. So email is one of the good ways to send them, your comments. Now, what I always say, is when you write to stations, don't be what I call a QSL hog. And what I mean by that is, it's fine to ask for a QSL card, but don't just say, hey, I was listening to you, I want my QSL, bye. That's kind of rude, and it's like, give me, and, you just don't care, really. Take the time to let them know what you enjoy in their programming. Take the time to let them know even what you don't like. There are things, one of the things I don't like on a lot of shortwave stations is music. It depends. It depends on the station. Okay, not all of them. Some stations, okay. There are some stations, though, I wish they'd just have more talk and less music. It all depends. It all depends. There are programs that might interest you, others that don't interest you at all. I am the kind of guy that likes, news and current affairs and learning about a country. So when they talk about, specific tough stuff in a country, for example, Radio Romania has, this excellent program where they talk about Romanian culture and everything. Kind of cool, but there are other times when, for example, I'm not the type of guy that likes a program that, for example, will say, today we will meet a Romanian writer, and he's written this in this book, and the interview that, of course, I understand that it makes that writer, Romanian writer, known to us, or that Romanian artist known to us. But I tend to not listen in on programs like that. I tend to listen in on programs that talk about Romania, or, I'm giving an example of Radio Romania here. The cooking show is kind of interesting, listening to the cooking show. Of course, listener letterbox, stuff like that is cool to listen to. It all depends. And each station, there are things that are kind of more interesting than others. So, the first thing you should do, okay? One of the first thing you should do is let them know, why you listen in, what you like, and basically let them know what you don't like. A station will not change its programs if you just say, oh, I love your programs, and that's it. Because they're going to basically say, oh, they love our programs, so we'll just keep it like that. If enough people say, when you're reading a book on the air, it's like boring, there could be something else you could do. And there's, of course, a nice way to say it. It's like, I don't find it very interesting to have, book readings. But I find it interesting when you talk about your country, about life in your country, about the people in your country. And, of course, this will shape the programming. So start by, being very polite and very nice, and letting them know you're listening in, what you like, what you listen less, and let them know how many times you're listening in, per week, per month, whatever, and especially tell them how important it is for you that they are on shortwave. That it's a cool way of getting across, and basically, it's just let them know why you listen in, why you like that, why you like shortwave. And another thing to add that's always nice, add a little something about yourself. You're that anonymous name there. It's like me reading the chat room. There's names, but I don't know that much. I don't. For most of you, I don't know who you are, what you do, and so on. Some of you I've learned to actually know a lot more, thanks to different shows and different things that I do. Some of you follow me, on different channels with my different live shows. But overall, station, just be quick, but let them know who you are, what you do in life, what you enjoy, and even how you became a shortwave listener, and why you find it so interesting. So that's, I think, the first part that's very, very important. If you take the time to do that, you're already giving yourself some positive points for that QSL card, because it's like, okay, you took the time to let us know what he likes, what he doesn't like, how many times he listens, who he is, what he does in life, and then, of course, the reception report could be there. What is a reception report? Stations less today than before. The QSL cards thing started because stations long time ago needed to know is our signal making it well to your part of the world. Now that part of course is not as important for some stations than it was before. Some have kept the QSL cards just for the habit of, in the coolness of, well, it's cool to send a QSL card for shortwave broadcasts, stuff like that. Some stations just don't care anymore about that also. If you try to send for a QSL request to Spain, for example, you'll be just politely answered that they don't do QSLing. A few stations have stopped, but the majority of stations still do it. And for some stations, it's also important. Let them know in your reception report of what frequency you listen to usually. Reception report needs to be detailed in specific areas. So you need to tell the station what time you were listening. That's the first thing. What time in UTC, Universal Time. What frequency you were listening to. Then the strength, the date, start by time, frequency, and date. Okay, so it was today, for example. I was listening April, 29th to, I believe I made an error, and I think I said April 28th in my, I just noticed. So anyways, April 29th. So now they know the frequency, the time, and the date. Then give them a report of the signal. How was the signal? Now there's something called a simple code, which can be used, or you know what? If you don't want to go crazy over that, you can also just, in plain terms, say the signal was strong, I had some interference, or another station was interfering with your station, or signal was, rather average, sometimes a little, on some days it's weak, and give them details about, how their signal gets in. Even better, give them an idea of, well, today the signal was this, but usually when I listen to your programs, signal's always good, or signal is sometimes good, sometimes bad, or sometimes, very noisy, and so on. And then you got to give them at least 15 to 20 minutes of program detail. And program details, what's that? As many details that you can put in that proves your reception of the station. If you have heard names of some people, try to write them down. Now, I know that's not easy because, when you're listening and you have the name of somebody in a different country that is in a different language, it's like my name. If I say Gilles Letourneau, you guys are just going to say, what the heck am I going to write on a piece of paper of that name? Now, a lot of you know Gilles, but that other name, that insect, my Letourneau, I think you're just going to say, what the hell, how do I write that? So, if you can, try to put the names. Sometimes it's very difficult, so you can say, well, there was a man announcing this or that, and then you went on to this program. Try to give program names, and of course details of, okay, today on the cooking show, you were actually talking how to cook lamb, or you had some special on this very unique dish that's called that, and that had this and that ingredient, and you were telling us how to prepare it and everything. So the thing is try to have the details that if they need and wish to verify, they'll look at what program there was that day, and they're gonna like, okay, yeah, he was listening in, And don't cheat. Don't use the internet for a reception report. Do not cheat. You're doing a reception report, honestly, for the signal, letting them know what they are receiving. They don't want to know how to receive on the internet. They want to know how they're received on your radio. Okay? So once you pack all of that, the information, what you like, what you don't like, be polite always, and never think, and never be mad at them, by the way. Don't think that a QSL card, they have to send you one. Okay, they don't owe you anything. And if they don't send you a QSL, they just don't send you a QSL. It's don't get mad for that. But be polite always, and don't write back saying, "Hey, I wrote to you 6 months ago. I didn't get a letter back." You guys are just morons. That's not the best way to do something with stations. I know somebody that did that, and it's like, don't do that. Okay, it's useless. And remember, one thing is that maybe they didn't receive your email, maybe they didn't receive your letter. That's a big possibility also. And so you put all of that there. You politely ask for, may I have a QSL card? And some stations have other goodies sometimes to send, but be very very nice. Ask them politely, do you have any goodies or stickers or pennants or stuff? And if they send you something, they send you something. If they send you nothing, they send you nothing. Most stations will answer back by mail, so that means put your full name and postal address in your email. They need to know where to send that card to. It happens so often lately that I hear listeners' letters read on the air by stations where the announcer says, well, can you write back and give us your postal address, because we want to send you those stuff, but we don't know where to send it. And most stations are going to reply to you by snail mail, so they get something in your mailbox. And it's kind of nice, open the mailbox, and instead of having those bills, you have nice letters from some stations. It kind of is more of a positive thing than having just your credit card bill or something. And I know I talk from experience here. And I think pretty much all of us do also. So anyways, it's a cool thing to do. And give them your postal address, your name, postal address, where they can write back. And hey, as you write different stations, you'll see what you get back through the mail. So it's pretty cool. Mick H says, I bought a realistic DS394 this week. It's nice to play with, but I'm wondering if it's any better than either of the two analog radios to your left. It probably is better. This is rather, these analog receivers from the 80s are very poor performers on the shortwave band. This one has the shortwave bands. That one has CB bands. Compared to today's receivers, it's kind of horrible. But from what I know, the DX394 is not too bad. It should actually pick up some signals. So yes, I'm having beer tonight. So like David Arden says, always include some program comments and for with a QSL request. Very important. What else do we have? An amateur radio station on 14195. Let's check it out, from St. Lucia Islands in the Caribbean. Let's check it out. Check it out if I hear something. Leave it low in the background. Let's see if we hear something. The Quick 512. Hello there, Florida QSO party on 20 and 40. Okay. Sheldon says, first sample request for the CIDX bulletin just came through. So sample copy is already sent. So whoever sent for a sample bulletin of the Canadian International DX Club, you already have it in your email. You just check it out. Hopefully we'll have a maybe a new member. Who knows? Who knows? It's pretty cool. What else do we have here? Hey Patrick Manny, nice to have you on board. Pretty cool. The digital mode that HM01 uses is, I believe, something that's close to some kind of ASCII, or it's kind of sending out pretty much the same thing as the lady, but it's kind of weird. I don't know if anybody has ever mastered a way to decode HM01, but it sounds quite peculiar. What else do we have here? PLF says China Radio International from Croatia and from China is easy to receive. Yeah, it's mostly from Albania that they're transmitting, though. On a lot of frequencies, CRI is mainly rebroadcast from I'm really far in the chat, by the way, guys. Just let you know. And okay. Yes, I am set up for some tuning around. We'll do it a little bit. We'll see what we can hear. Not a lot of stuff to listen to a little earlier, but we'll see if we hear something. Itin Best says, I emailed Arnie Core directly about his number station being really overmodulated and that it might make it hard to spies to discard the signal. Really, Ethan Best, you did that? We're trying to be helpful. Yeah, I should have emailed Radio Havana, Cuba to say, hey, you were on the HM01 spy number station frequency of 10715 the other day. Maybe you should check that out. Oh, man. I can tell you that. So what else do we have here? Just going quickly through, see if I'm not missing anything. And SIO, yeah, it's quite all right, as long as you can tell them. There's the simple code, which is a very the longer part, of code, but SIO is also quite all right to let stations know. And it's very difficult because I believe that rating in such a like the simple code is something that's like very different, probably from one station to the other, from one person to the other, sorry, and the type of noise that they probably perceive in the radio. So really Richard in Atlanta, nice to have you here. Ralph Bender says Radio Polonia on 3985 in German. Cool. Yes, that's true, PA1 SBM. Anybody that speaks French probably will have it easier with my name, but over the years I've had so many ways that I heard stations try to mention my name. The ones that were most amazing that I always remember is Radio Moscow back in the USSR days. They researched, because they always would pronounce it rather well, and I would always be surprised at how well they would pronounce my name. And I was thinking, well, if they pronounce my name pretty well like that, I would guess they probably pronounce most of the names pretty good also. So it was always surprising. How long does it take by mail? Okay, well, if you email the station, you can expect that it could take several weeks to several months to get a reply. An example, Radio Havana, Cuba. Every time I've emailed Cuba, usually took a couple of months before I got something back. Some stations are faster, some stations are really quick. Radio Romania, last time I emailed Radio Romania for something, or QSL, took 2 or 3 weeks and I had a QSL already. So some stations are faster than others. It all depends. Be patient, because some of them will take a lot of time. Some will take months to reply back to you, and it's sometimes the delay in which they, of course, will prepare everything and send you the letter, plus the delay of you're receiving a letter from somewhere else, another country in the world, could take a lot of time. Sometimes it gets stopped at the customs because they want to see what's inside, stuff like that, And MDK2 says, one tip for people emailing reception reports: I always post a video of what I'm hearing on YouTube and include the link in my email. That could be a good idea. They don't always, they can't always look at it, because many enterprise emails kind of just prevent them from watching online stuff with links because of viruses. But it's not a bad idea, if they can see it, why not? If it's the best way, by the way. If you can really see what they are, how you are receiving the station, it's pretty cool. What else do we have here? Quickly. And one last thing about QSLs: if you are one of those that likes to try the QSL amateur radio stations, remember one thing: a lot of amateur radio stations don't reply. And if you are writing into small stations around the world or amateur radio stations, remember that there's a cost to sending you a letter. There's a cost to sending you all of those things that you asked for. And for some stations, not the big ones, like Radio Romania or Voice of Turkey, for example, will not require you to do anything. But small stations in Africa or in certain parts of the world, some in amateur radio stations, having a way to pay back for what it costs for them to send you something is something that you should think of, in the form of maybe a couple of US dollars in the envelope, or there's things like self-addressed stamped envelopes that help, so that they don't have to defray the postal costs and stuff like that. It all depends. WizKid Eddie, hello there. Is it true that within several years analog radio FM will be replaced by DAB plus broadcasts? Here in North America we're extremely far from that. And I don't know. We have these reports of these countries like Norway that are going total digital on FM. I gotta say, there's something there that I'm not totally positive about. I mean, if you want to have some good audio with digital broadcasting, I got no problem with that. The only thing is, I'm always I hate that they just take a band of frequency and transform that into something else. Everything should have its own place. If you want to have some digital FM broadcasts, I'm sorry, open up a new frequency range and make the radios with that frequency range for that type of transmission, but don't mess up the FM band as it is. A great example of messing up bands, medium wave. Many a couple of years, many years ago now, there was this digital broadcast that you could have on medium wave, and many stations on medium wave broadcasted their normal analog and their digital, and you could hear that hiss was like a blank noise that would accompany that station's signal. And at night, when you want to DX medium wave stations from the United States, some of the frequencies were a total mess because of the noise that it created, and it actually even interfered with other stations on the same frequency that didn't have any digital stuff to send. And that's exactly how you do something wrong. DRM, another great example. Digital Radio Mondiale. I have no problem with, let's do DRM on shortwave. Why not? What I have a problem with is that it's a very wide signal, smack in the middle of an international broadcast band, and it's wide enough that it often interferes with stations that are near there. I'm sorry, but there's no place in the international broadcast bands for that digital ash stuff. They should have said, these are the frequency ranges that will be set aside for DRM. And if you wanted to listen to DRM, well, you know that's where you got to listen to. The frequencies were in these little ranges there. Not right smack in the middle of the international broadcast band. That already was a mistake. The other mistake is, I'm sorry, but DRM is a very bad digital thing. It's a very bad digital idea because it takes such a strong and good signal just to decode it that I'm sorry, but I don't know. Somebody somewhere was a really, really good seller, and he could, put that DRM, and I'll call it DRM shit, and made a lot of stations convert the transmitters to do that. I mean, like I said, I have no problem with digital stuff. I mean, we gotta modernize. It's like the amateur bands. A lot of amateur radio stations and operators, got crazy when they removed the requirement for Morse code. Well, no, look, we got to move ahead. We are moving ahead in time, and we just got to remember that that's the way things goes, and that I have absolutely no problem. I like listening to and decoding digital signals from amateur stations. Why would I not like to decode digital transmissions from my favorite shortwave broadcasters? Why not? But I think the way it was brought to us and the things that were decided were wrong. They had it wrong from the start. What else do we have here? So anyways, here in North America, just to complete, I think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be digital before a long time. I can tell you that. So what else do we have here? Yeah, long wires can be very, very, very long. Absolutely. Yeah, if I do get some number stations, I will, of course. Here we're hearing that station, amateur station on 14195 upper sideband from St. Lucia. Also, what do we have? Hey, Keegan, XNEDXer, nice to have you on board, by the way. 66 Fahrenheit there. Here it's about 70. My thermometer is saying 21 degrees outside, so around 70 Fahrenheit. But it's dropping to like 2 Celsius tonight. 0 or 2. It's going to be like 32 Fahrenheit, 34. Going to be cold. Yes, a while ago I mentioned 7260 at 060 UTC. So no, it was for Vanuatu in the Pacific. It's Vanuatu, and it has been reported. I know somebody here in the western part of Canada reported receiving it as early as 0600 UT, and I see a lot of reports in the DX Listening Digest group of people hearing it around 08, 0900. So it's Vanuatu in the Pacific. And they are in vernacular, so it's some kind. I don't think they have English or anything. How's the RF noise? It's bad. I gotta tell you one thing, Jerry. It's really bad. It's getting bad by the minute almost here. Recently, really been bad. Rich in Atlanta says 14183 EA5IKJ, or let's check it out. So 14183. See if I can hear something. And we'll tune around a little bit for sure. So Jeff, KD5, QDO, preparing for bad weather coming our way. Bands are noisy right now. Yeah, bad weather coming here for the next few days also. So, oh really, Richard? They send the exact same transmission for the past 2 weeks on the HM01. Wow. David says, I am an amateur radio operator. I would always reply to shortwave reports. You know, I used to send a lot of reports to amateur stations. Oh, here's Sheldon. I know why you're not. So Sheldon, I just gave you moderator status. You'll be able from now on to post the some URLs if you want. It's because you're not moderator. It's only moderators can post URLs. So I just gave you moderator status, Sheldon. You should be able to post URLs now, and for sure. And he's talking about a place for a resource for shortwave broadcast in English. Of course, if you're only in English, by the way, if your main language of understanding is only English, yes, it is a great resource, which is primetimeshortwave.com. Primetimeshortwave.com is a very, very good place for that. So, hey, Philip Briggs, nice to have you here back in Brazil after 5 weeks in England. Cool. Hope you had a lot of fun there. Picked up a Sony SW100 to play with. Anybody has a Sony SW100? Interesting. Yeah, Spain on 15520. Should usually come in here. 15. Yeah, Spain. Yeah, 1552. I believe they also are on. I thought they were on another frequency, but 15520. It's a little noisy here, but Spain is on 15520 in Spanish. So, Whiskey Eddie says, in my area, the Netherlands, they are going to cancel analog FM. That's why I ask. Everything will be replaced by DAB+, so you can no longer use regular analog FM radio. You know, I'm sorry, but that is for me a waste, a total waste, because you're now scrapping tons and tons of good FM receivers that will be useless basically because of that. And it's, I hate decisions that are like that. So, yeah. Eaton Best says, I hope DRM is assigned to 11 meter band. There's plenty of place on the shortwave bands to assign some DRM frequencies just for that. Electrician Free Territory of Trieste, hello there, says he's got a ICF shortwave 55, and pretty cool. It's nice receivers. I've never in all of my years of owning receivers, I've never owned a Sony shortwave radio. Never. I had Sangean, Grundigs, Texans, Ethon. Man, I've had a lot of different, Realistic, Radio Shack, QFX. Trying to look at what I got here, and Pulsar. But I've never owned a Sony shortwave radio. Never. And I know a lot of them were pretty good too. Spain on 17715 also. Pretty cool. So, what else do we have here? And Netherlands FM will close down in 2023. But that's only if the DAB Plus is successful. MDK2, here's a question about modes. Where will I find PSK31? Is that a ham mode, a utility station, or both? That's just a amateur mode, MDK2. And the best place you'll find such signals, around 70 kilohertz upper sideband, 14070, 21070. These are places I usually, if I just go here for now, that's 07 and tune, I hear several PSK31 signals right now at 14070. It's a purely amateur radio digital mode. I like it. It's really, really cool because it's like you can, for example, FLDG, you can decode, and even on the left side it decodes multiple ones at the same time, and it's a cool mode. I like PSK31, but it is an amateur only mode, and this is the best frequencies. You know, I've heard it on around 3600, a little below 3600 kilohertz on 80 meters. But if you type, you know, amateur band PSK31 in Google, you will have a full frequency list of what frequencies PSK31 use. But the most popular, the one that I hear almost all the time signals, is 7070 and 14070. These two frequencies are almost 24 hours in PSK31. Lots of stuff. So Jerry says, had a guy. Whoops. Hey there, David in Barcelona. Yeah, radio exterior Spanish should be on 17855. I just tried here, and nothing was coming in a little earlier. So you know. So hey, no problem, Sheldon. I should have given you from the start, because I mean, of all the people I can trust, I think you're one of them. But you know, and it's fun to have several moderators for when there's idiots that show up from time to time. Hey, Brad Lowe, nice to have you here. Says 15520 coming in good in Northwest Pennsylvania. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Richard Cook receiving BPM time signal on 5000 kilohertz. Cool. What else do we have here? Brother Stare on 11825 and a reading of the Quran on 11/8/2011. Yeah, I get that almost every afternoon, and it's like very, very. I had the same thought of uniqueness. It's like, okay, Jesus on 11/8/25, and you know, the Quran on 11/8/20 is like, okay, kind of a and really close, you know, and sometimes they interfere with each other, which is beautiful. What can you repeat the question, Bobby Burgess? If you if for the digital and CW modes, I didn't see your question, and I might miss some questions. If I've not answered your question, just please ask again. Dave in Ohio, nice to have here. Nice to have you here. Says the 2010 was pretty good, but latest stuff is pretty darn good, like the PL660 and Greenix, the latest. You know, receivers are amazing today, I gotta say. Sanjian, is that brand any good? Never heard of it before. Sanjian had several good shortwave receivers. They are one of the most popular, probably, that I've seen over the years is the Sanjian ATS 909, which is also, by the way, the same radio as the Radio Shack 398 DX398. I have the Radio Shack version here, the DX398, but that was one of the. It's a little deaf, but on the long wire, it's amazingly good. And Sanjian has a few interesting receivers. One that I can show you guys here. And by the way, I'm just going to be back in 2 seconds, because the cat has been out for a while, and I want to make sure that he's okay. So sorry, guys. Okay, guys, the cat is back, and I will show you guys the Sanjian receiver. that I was talking about. This is one that I have. This is ATS 505. ATS 505. This is I bought this one a couple of years back. It's an okay performer. It's not the best. There are some flaws on this radio, but I like it because it's a little big. You know, it's bigger than the usual small little things that you try to tune in. But Sangean ATS 505. Nice little Sangean receiver here. And Paul the cat is here. So I don't know what he wants, but he's got food and everything. So so yeah, they had several cool and good receivers. So really nice. Receivers, very strong Cairo 9800. You know what's sad about Cairo? Radio Cairo is sad for the sadness of it has usually a good signal, but audio is always horrible. What modes are fun to decode? Okay, PSK31 is one of them. Here you go. Here's our mascot of the day. So I'm just gonna, you guys want to see DX the cat? Hey there, DX. Here's DX the cat saying hello to everybody. And so the official shortwave mascot of the channel, and just wants to say hello to everyone as usual. When I'm talking, he always wants to say hello. Yeah. So anyways, digital modes, if you want to have some cool digital modes to decode, some of the fun ones, PSK31 is a very, very cool one. RTTY 45 or RTTY radio teletype is also cool on the amateur bands. You'll have JT65 is a very unique mode, but it is very, very, it's you know, it's like a Twitter. It's the Twitter of the digital modes for amateur radio, because very short messages are sent through JT65. It's a contact only thing, so you'll know, you know, the call letters and where they're located with their grid locators. And that's it. While in PSK31 or RTTY, or even a mode that I often hear, Olivia 16500 is often used for around 14073. You know, there you'll have conversations, you'll have people really talking. It's one of those fun modes, and it's cool to decode. It's really cool to decode, and you have more information. Hey, David Arden just got to the mailbox and got a card from Guadeloupe. Cool. Oh yeah, I've saw your questions earlier, but I forgot to answer it. Cosmic Lettuce. My thoughts on active antennas. I don't have, you know, I've never used one, so I don't have a lot of thoughts on it. It might be good. It depends on the active antenna. It might also not be so good, because it could be sometimes it could overload your receiver, or sometimes if the active antenna itself is not very good, it will not work very well. But I can't really talk that much about active antennas. Never used one personally. And by the way, as PA1 SBM says, CW is the hardest to decode, because one of the biggest problems with CW is that most operators send it via, you know, the manual mode. So they manually send the Morse code, and what happens is that humans are not very precise. Computers want to have a you know, a very stable signal to decode. So because humans are not very stable in the speed, computers have a hard time decoding CW most of the time. And JT65 is amazing for the weak signals. I mean, JT65, you will think there's nothing there but noise, and you'll see that the software will actually pop up some call letters, and you're just like, wow, I couldn't hear anything, and the computer brought something back. So it's a very amazing mode, I gotta say. So hey David in Barcelona, always nice to have you on board. It's always pretty cool. CW Get is what? PA1 SBM. I believe I tried that one. CW Get. I think it's one of the best ones. I've had the decode of FLDG is not very good, but I've had that one and another one that I'm trying to remember that were kind of better at doing it, but really nice. PSK31 is I of all the modes I would say that I decode in digital. PSK31 is one of my favorites, I have to say, and it's easy to decode. It's really easy to decode. I gotta say. Just checking it out here. So everybody's saying hello to DX the cat. He is well fed and he is a happy cat, I can tell you that. He is a very happy cat. Hey, can you believe, guys? Because I remember I was in the chat room, in the IRC chat room when DX the cat arrived for the first time, and I was outside on the balcony. And can you believe, guys? It's gonna be 2 years next month that I now have DX. I now have Paul the cat here. 2 years, amazing. Time just goes so fast. What else do we have? Trenton Military on 15034 from Richard and Atlanta. I'll just try it. It doesn't make it very often on that one here because we're pretty close to Trenton and that's a high frequency. Usually skips over me most of the time. I'm not really hearing anything. I had a hard time even listening to WWV today. This was like, even WWV couldn't make it. Barely hearing WWV in 15 megahertz. Let's try 20. Nothing on 20. Nothing on 10. Very weak on 15. It's amazing. I usually get it better than that, I can tell you. Well, Grundig is not what it used to be. Like Radio Cruncher says, it is true that Grundig is not at all. Grundig is not the company that it was because it was sold. And, the radios we get today from Grundig are branded Grundig receivers, but they're not they're not the Grundig receivers at the time, I can tell you that. And no problem. It's I'm happy to answer any questions. I can tell you that. Scotty says active antennas is great if you live in an apartment building where you can't set up real big antennas. Not much use if you have the room for a proper long antenna in your backyard. Yeah, and it probably brings in a lot of noise from within your home also, which is not necessarily the best. Yeah, the Grundig Satellite S750 is manufactured by Texan. It's actually the Texan S2000. Yep, exactly. David says, I just tried JT65 for the very first time some days ago. At the time, I only had strong European signals, so no DX, but at least worked well. Cool mode for sure. And remember, for JT65, if you want to decode, your computer's clock needs to be exactly set to the time. Very important. It needs to be set precisely or else you'll never get a decode. It has an algorithm that uses the time to be able to decode what it's sending out. So I was on a website for CW, forget the name. It was showing call sign frequency used and words per minute. Some of the Japanese guys were going at 39 words per minute. Some people and I've had a lot of that. Some people actually are sending CW through their computer with the same hardware that they are sending out digital. So when it's computer to computer, I remember decoding some Morse code, some CW at 60, 70 words per minute, because it was sent by a computer, so it was so stable that you could easily decode it if it wasn't too noisy, for sure. Hey, you guys, I'm going to annoy you guys a little bit as we are pretty much mid-show right now. I will post my little links for my donations. It's very important. You got, I've had, as it's going to end tomorrow. I'm having the crappiest month ever for AdSense on YouTube, which means it's so bad that it's like, okay, decisions need to be made. So if you guys can spare a little bit of money, it doesn't have to be a big amount, don't worry about it. I'm sending you the little time. So here's the Yahoo email for the PayPal donations. Here we go. And you can also be part of basically another thing called Patreon, where you become my patron, and where you can, of course, set it up so that every month there's a little something that comes to me. It's much appreciated, and it helps me a lot, and you guys have no idea, especially with the crappy AdSense right now. It's like I need a little bit of help, and I like doing these shows. I want to continue doing these shows. Just before the show, I was talking to Carl Sanson through email, because we were talking about, and in September I want to try to make it possible to be on the air via maybe WRMI or WBCQ with a shortwave show for a couple of hours a week. But for that, unfortunately, everything costs money today. So thank you all that have donated. If you never donated, maybe think about it. Could be really cool. And thanks everybody. It is much appreciated. So PayPal and Patreon. I'll also put it in the other chat room. PLF says multi-PSK. Multi-PSK is a good piece of software for decoding. It just have one. It has one of the worst interfaces I've ever seen, but it is an amazing piece of software for decoding all sorts of things. Multi-PSK is quite good, yes, for sure. And so here you go. Hope everybody, anybody that can help, much appreciated. Thank you, everyone. And it was my little moment here. So yes, Carl, that's what I want. We'll have to do it starting in September. I'll first. What's going to be interesting? I'll first of all think about how I want to do it. How to what type of show, how we should do it. A lot of you were saying, hey, it'd be cool if it'd be a rebroadcast of this show via a shortwave broadcaster live. That could be cool, but what I mostly would probably like to do is more of a 2-hour show that deals about shortwave radio every week. That would be not just the audio of this, but a specific show, something that that could be of interest. See how we can do a mix of all sorts of little things here. But I think it could be very, very cool anyway. So I'm looking at that for September. That's for sure. What else? Scotty, no, I don't know how old Paul is actually. My guess, because I've been observing how how he plays, and when he's outside, how he moves, he runs. I'd say he's like midlife. Maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years old, maybe not even, maybe 5. But I'm not sure how old he is exactly. I'd have to go to the vet, and the vet probably would help me estimate his age a little better. But I wouldn't be surprised he's at least 5 or 6 years old already, for sure. So Jerry says, Paul from Spain, 14183. 14183. Let's try it again. Am I hearing Spain? Yep, hearing Spain. It's in the noise a little bit, but it's there. 14183. Upper sideband, Spain. Amateur radio station from Spain is there. So really, really cool. What else do we have here? Just check it out. Jill says, I installed the Dimension 4 software that keeps my clock right on time. Now I can sync the clocks in the house to the time on the computer, and I can sure have them spot on. You know, I'm one of those freaks of my perfect clock. You know, at some point I had like several clocks in my home, and I would just go crazy. I would just go crazy at how the clock would be like several seconds difference. And I was just like, man, it would drive me nuts to see that one was 2 seconds from the other one. I was like, man, you're going crazy with your clocks. Oh, God. And for the answer to the question is the PayPal email where I can be reached. It's not the best place. It's that Yahoo email is for the PayPal, and for mostly what I have it doing is I'm on several different shortwave groups, like the DX Listening Digest, HF Underground. There's the utility one. So it's mostly a shortwave information email, I'd say, and of course PayPal. But the best one for anybody who wants to reach and say hello is officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. That's the best place to do it. And thank you for the donations. You guys are very, very nice. I gotta say, thank you very much. Really, really appreciate it. You have no idea. So you know, it's one of those things that's sad, because you know I worked hard on all my channels, and you know my two most popular channels are the shortwave. This one, the shortwave channel, is pretty popular, but the most popular, of course, is the Windows channel, and the monetization reached a peak somewhere about 2.5 years ago, and since about that peak 2.5 years ago, it's been going down all the time. And wow, this month is horrible. It's like, you know, having monetization from 4 years ago when I wasn't really very popular. So it's kind of sad, you know. So thanks, really, really appreciated everybody that has donated. Thank you, Carl. And there are some other people that have donated. Much appreciated. I gotta tell you that. Jerry says, all my clocks are atomic clocks. Nice for daylight savings. You know, that's true. One of the things about atomic clocks here is it's so noisy in here that I have a lot of difficulty with. You know, I've got one atomic clock in a weather station in the kitchen, and I got to always put it near a window in the living room if I wanted to synchronize. If I leave it there, or if I put it in my office here, it never synchronizes. It's kind of too noisy. Okay, let's just check out here what 03 Jacob says. What is your primary radio behind you? Yeah, this is my main receiver. It's an ICOM ICR 8500. This is a wideband receiver. It goes from 100 kilohertz all the way up to 2 gigahertz. So it, for me, is a very nice radio because it brings amazing reception on VHF, UHF for my you know, mostly, almost the only thing I do is mostly the some you know, amateur radio satellites in the VHF, UHF range, but good shortwave also, and this is my main radio. But I gotta say, the Ephedry SDR for HF has become, in the past few weeks, my favorite receiver. I gotta say that. So It's amazing that I can go in the living room and watch the waterfall and listen to Shortwave on my 50-inch TV. It's just so cool. Scotty says, my cats are 9 and 14. They will both chase the freaking laser until they're out of breath. Age is no barrier for them. So I'm 60. I should know. Yes, I understand that. Well, Paul does play quite a lot. I like playing with him of all sorts of little things that I've little games. And the funniest thing about Paul, and you guys would go crazy if you'd see that. All I do is drop a sheet of paper on the floor, and immediately he sits on the square, and I'm just always laughing my head off. And then for the next 20 minutes, he's finding the paper square on the floor, and it's like just so funny. So, when I see that he gets a little bored or something, I just throw a piece of paper on the floor and just plays with it for half an hour. Just funny. And no problem, Bobby. And don't rush, and I understand also for those that can't donate. It's quite all right, I'm not... I have somebody that once emailed me and said, oh, well, you should have your shows only for paid people. And I said, nah, I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. That's not the kind of thing that I like. I think that if you can give and you want to give, thank you. But I never wanted to. I never want to do that. I don't want to have, Patreon. I could have specific shows for Patreon that only patrons that are donating could see. But I'm not there yet, I'm more into, I'm open, and if you can give, you can give. And I think that if people are, like what I do and feel they can, spare a couple of dollars, they'll do it. La Fin du Monde is my beer. I bought a 6-pack yesterday because I was supposed to have a friend over, so I thought, okay, I'll buy a 6-pack. We'll have a couple, and I'll have some left. And finally, my friend didn't come over. But what happened is I started tuning around with the ephedry SDR, and I took 3 beers while tuning around. It was kind of cool. It was relaxing, just listening to Shortwave. And and I thought, well, I'll keep the three left ones. I'll keep them for the show today. So no problem, Cosmic Lettuce. Anybody that wants to write in, the best place is really official shortwaveradio@gmail.com. That's where I'll read your stuff. In the Yahoo email, if you send me something, there's a chance I might actually not see it, because when you're on groups, you get like hundreds of emails a day. So you kind of find that way of going through the email in such a way that you quickly go through all of that. And so sometimes I did, go over emails that people that send me and I didn't see. So, and be patient. I get a lot of emails because of all that I do with YouTube. I get like hundreds of emails a day from the Windows channel and the Shortwave channel and all of that. So sometimes, if I don't have too much time on my hands, it can take several days before I answer back to you, but I will answer back. Okay. Somebody got mad at me last year. A guy from Germany that just sent me an email, and I took like 4 days to answer it before I got there. And what I saw is I had another email where he was mad and saying, "Hey, okay, you're that big shot YouTuber now, so you don't answer emails from anyone." No, that's not what I am, and that's not what I want to do. It's just that with the amount of, if I had the money, I'd have a secretary now. it's like, I'm a little overwhelmed by the amount of data coming in, and I'm alone to deal with all of that and do the videos and do the live shows. So sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but and sometimes I will not answer back, but I did see your email. Like Jerry is sending me regular emails all the time of all sorts of little things that you've seen and everything, and continue. I like that, but I will not reply to everything unless there's something unusual and I want to reply back. But if I don't reply, I probably read it, but I didn't take the time to say thank you are okay, but I'll probably, I should maybe, answer back because I know that it's kind of, you took the time to write to me. But hey, Grandly, nice to have you here. Says, got an Elenco DXR8, lots of features to learn. Have you had experience with this radio? I have read a lot of articles on the Elenco DXR8. From what I know, it's apparently a pretty good radio. But pretty much every rant that I've seen on that receiver are rants of people saying that it's a little jam-packed with features and controls are a little like near each other, so if you've got big fingers, sometimes a little difficult. But it seems to be a pretty good radio from what I know. So here we have a Spanish amateur station on 14.183 upper sideband. It has a pretty good signal here.
6 November America Radio, EA5I2J. So you're S9 here, but I can't give you readability 5 because your audio is quite distorted, and I don't know if it's a RF issue or a power supply issue or something like that, but you're quite distorted. Although I can hear you, probably I understand you clearly about 50% of the time, but you do have a problem with the transmission. But your S9 here, a nice strong signal, right?
So that Spanish amateur station coming in quite well. What else do we have? Sorry if I take a little time sometimes to answer anything. That the chat rooms, as this show gets more popular and get more people live, chat rooms going faster. So it's even more difficult to do something and read everything. Yeah, that also I've done a lot, and basically there are crumpled up pieces of paper everywhere. Every time I have to clean the house, I find like tons of these, and of course a lot of toys around the house, having a lot of fun. WizKid Eddie, are non-licensed allowed to buy a transceiver when they don't use the transmitter part of the receiver, or is this officially illegal? I mean, you can buy way more transceivers than just regular receivers in my area. Yeah, it's like electrician-free territory says. It's country to country. Okay. In some countries you can, some countries you can't. And so it depends on where you are, but for many countries it's not. It's some countries it's not legal. You cannot. Some countries it's it's okay. You just can't use the transmitter part technically, for sure. You see, in the Netherlands and Holland you can buy it without being licensed. A lot of stores actually have kind of a policy where what they do is say that if you want to buy a transceiver, you'll have to show, a lot of stores have that policy of you got to show your ham license, because they have kind of a rule not to sell a transceiver to somebody that's not a amateur radio operator. But depends where you are. But if you transmit, you are illegal, and if you get caught, you can you can have really, really big fines, I can tell you that. Yeah, that's well, in Canada also, I think it's not illegal to possess a transceiver. It's just that you're not allowed to transmit without a license. Yes, I know, Jerry. You guys would love that, a beer maid secretary. Oh, chat is weird. It's like I'm getting these chunks of chat up here instead of like usually I always get the chat room going well, but I just saw something here. I didn't notice, but my VPN is on. I don't always have we don't always have so yeah, my VPN is on. I think that's why it's doing that. Usually don't have my VPN turned on. Arthur Smith says, I think we have one of the same VHF antennas, the one behind you. What make model? I'm between that one and the AEA Red Devil for my new VC10 VHF converter that I just ordered for my Kenwood R2000. Arthur Smith. Yeah, you're talking about this probably, as I've seen here. There's no brand on this that I could see, but I bought it in a Radio Shack store way a long time ago when I started buying scanner radios. And this is a wideband for VHF UHF, so it's rated at like 30 megahertz all the way up to 1300 megahertz. So, but if you look at if you look at on eBay, I often see them. If you look for a telescopic for your scanner radios or your amateur radio equipment, and very nice. I really love it. Great performance out of this, and I just adjust the sections depending on the frequency that I'm listening to. But it is great, a great antenna. But this one I bought at a Radio Shack store, and maybe it was branded like Realistic or something at the time. I gotta say. Triangulus, hey there, nice to have you here. Any tips when searching through SSB for random activity, not ham? It's the only tip I can give you, which is probably the best tip, is tune around everywhere. I every time I came across some activity, because he remembers seeing my aero emergency video that I caught by chance just by tuning around, and that's the thing. It's really pure luck. And the only tip I can say, okay, there are two things you can do. It depends on what type of communication. If you, for example, that aeronautical emergency video, if you want to have the possibility to maybe someday come across some type of communications like that, you can go on on Google and type aeronautical HF frequencies, and you'll see the frequency ranges where airplanes are on the HF bands. And of course, that gives you an advantage because you know that you are in those frequency ranges all the time. But I have to say, by experience, tuning everywhere is the important thing. And I got to tell you, tuning everywhere is really something that is amazing, because as you tune through the frequency ranges, and you come across all sorts of things. I mean, there are things and there are frequency ranges and there are certain types of communication that they don't have an official place. Like technically, an example, Mars, the military auxiliary radio system, is often very close to the amateur bands, but not always. I've seen some that appeared really far from amateur radio bands. It all depends on what you want to tune. So if you're inclined to receive aeronautical stuff, then of course the aeronautical, learning what are the frequency ranges of the aeronautical communications will simplify your search, because you just go through these frequency ranges and not everywhere. But the real key to having unusual stuff is get started from one frequency range and just go all across. If I want to have fun sometimes, what I'll do here, I'll put that radio at 30 megahertz way up, put it in upper sideband, and start going down to see if I hear anything. And that's pretty much how I posted several videos of unusual stuff. Just tuning everywhere slowly and going across the frequency ranges is the best thing that you can do. And anybody that does that, you'll be rewarded by something. You'll be rewarded by, oh, this is so cool because you might tune, 100 times and nothing will happen. But I gotta say that one day you'll find a signal and you'll be really happy to see it, and you'll be proud and you'll like, hey man, this is so cool. It's easy to not, to lose interest, because like I've tuned to that frequency range 100 times and I've never received anything. Well, one day you'll receive something and you're gonna say, hey, you know what? It's so cool. That guy was right. You got to tune everywhere because you never know what you can hear. And some of the best things I've ever heard are because I started tuning around everywhere in the frequency ranges. Okay, what else do we have here? My VPN provider. No, I'm just using the VPN through my to the Opera browser, because the Opera browser has a built-in VPN. I'm not a big user of VPNs in general. It's just for certain things, and because I don't use a VPN very often, I'll use the VPN through the Opera browser only. That's all I need. I don't really need anything more than that. Jerry DX says, Paul from Spain, always good. Yeah, he's got 1 kilowatt. So he's a really strong signal. It's like yesterday. Yesterday I posted the video of the Croatian station and the Slovenia station. And it's not the first time that I hear these amateur stations. They're always really have big signals. Somebody posted a comment on the video saying, oh well, that's not good, that's not really amazing DX, and it's like, well, it's not just for the DX thing. It's like, it is still, faraway countries, and it's fun to hear their signals. I can tell you that. DX Summit is a little website that Sheldon Harvey is sharing with us, saying, hey, dxsummit.fi is a great place when you want to monitor amateur radio DX station. One that I also use a lot personally, I like to load up the dxwatch.com website. It's dxwatch.com, where you see the it looks like this, I see it here. It looks exactly like this, like dxwatch.com. So thanks for sharing it. I didn't know about this one. So but the dxwatch.com is also a nice one to sometimes what I like to do is go through these one of the things that I sometimes get that email of, how do you keep up the excitement of radio, shortwave radio, and especially there's someone that sent me that email and said, how do you keep up the interest when you see all these shortwave stations gone and the bands are quieter than they were before? And you know what? One of the best and one of the cool things that helped me continue and keep up the excitement of shortwave is that I'm diversified at what I listen. I don't listen only to international broadcasters. I like DXing amateur stations. I like trying to find unusual stuff through the frequency ranges. And there's much more than you think of those things. And so one of the things that's nice is, like, looking at the DX clusters, or like here, the DX Summit webpage is pretty cool, and I see here the stations, and it's getting all the time, and I like looking at that and saying, hey, I'm going to try that station. So here I'm looking at, okay, there's EA5EE that from Spain that contacted us, a US station on 14190. So what I would do is I would just go to that frequency and say, hey, and I'm hearing it. I'm probably hearing that station right now, which is EA5EE 14190, because there's somebody there. So it's cool because you can go there and you can see some of the DX action on the amateur band as it's happening. So instead of just going through randomly, you can actually go to one of these websites like the DX Summit one and spot on, hey, that's a station. Actually, about a month ago, I posted a video of 4 or 5 different stations, amateur stations from Africa. And where did I find them? I went to a website like that. I went to DX Watch. Mine was dxwatch.com. And when I go there, I see that there were a lot of Africans being contacted by stations in the US and Canada. So that's the key also. When you see these stations, one of the things that you should check out also is who are they contacting? I mean, if you're seeing a Russian station contacting European stations, but never any North American stations, you can sometimes make out that, okay, single probably not making it, but it doesn't mean not to try it. Try it anyway. But when you see, if I see I don't know, I'll look here and I see that there's a station from Finland that is contacting the East Coast US stations. Well, I know I have a shot at it. I know I can try it out. For example here, HB9QT, Switzerland, just contacted N1HM. That's a station from the northeast part of the United States, if he still lives there, because sometimes he can be fooled by the call letters. But 14235, we have Switzerland. Let's check it out. 14235. So 14235. Here, it just ID'd HB9QT from Switzerland. So here, because of this, I know that this station from Switzerland is making it, and I'm hearing it right here. That's the station from Switzerland. So it's really cool, And these are great websites to get all that information. So, great suggestion, by the way, Sheldon, because it's one of those things that is really cool to share with everybody, and it's really nice. And the other one that I have is dxwatch.com. I think it's .com. I'm just gonna check it out here because I just don't want to say anything. dxwatch.com. Yes, it is. So that is a similar site. It's a similar website, basically, and it gets the clusters and you get all the stations here. And so for example here you can see that there's tons of stations. Really cool. You know what, I think they're taking the information from the same place, because dxwatch.com also has the same exact stations and call letters. So I think they are both taking the same DX spot clusters, the DX clusters, and just putting them on our websites, in the website for us to view. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Oh man, what else do we have here? Yeah, websdr.org is very good place for SDRs online. I like the Kiwi SDR one, which is SDR.hu or something like that. I like the amount of Kiwi SDRs available that you can tune. Simon says 5574 upper sideband is one of the aircraft HF frequencies. Yep. Here in the East Coast, 5598, 5696 are some of the strong aero frequencies in the evening. David in Barcelona uses dxfuncluster.com. dxfuncluster.com. Really complete site with many features. Really cool. You can register with a shortwave listener or ham call sign. Really nice. Really nice. Pretty cool. Yeah, the 6 meter band. Electrician free territory. I love the 6 meter band. I regularly check, especially at this time. I regularly check the 6-meter band to see if there's some opening. It's just so amazing, so amazing. So Electricity Free Territory says a lot of Canadians have received radio Capodistria on 1170 kilohertz in Slovenia, and he says I can almost see their antenna from my place. Cool. So well, I don't have a virus warning from that site, and I don't see why they would have a virus warning on it, because there's nothing here that would deem it dangerous or anything. I think it's one of those false claims that this website should not be, because here it's okay. I have no problem. Oh, the filter possibilities are great. That's true also. PA1 SBM. I sometimes want to listen to a specific country, and what's really cool, and I'm just going to check it out here 2 seconds on the DX Summit place. Yeah, filters are there also on the top. You can add filters also in the DX Summit. So you choose what frequency, so you can choose the mode, the HF band, and you can choose, so you choose the mode, the AF band, the HF band, anything else? So you can include or exclude, but and okay, maybe it's not as complete. Or you can search locations, I think, on the right side though. It says location. So okay, I'm going to try something here. If I go into location on the right side and I type Norway and press enter, do I get a result of something? No, I don't. On DX Watch, the filters that you have there, you can actually say, tell me which stations from Norway on the 20-meter band. And of course, if there are some right now, it's going to show up. And if there aren't any, it's going to tell you when today there were some reports of a Norwegian station on the AM bands. So it's really, really cool. I use those filters a lot to listen to amateur DX. You are right with that. That is pretty cool. So DX Finder, I believe I have it in my phone. DX Finder is a great app also. Oh, well, thank you very much, Sheldon. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. Really is appreciated for the donation. Thank you. Really, thank you. And you know, I really want to try to promote as much shortwave and have as much fun as possible. I mean, this is the reason why this exists. It's really to have everybody together and enjoy what we love, radio. And what's cool is that not only that, it's also like I always say, you know, it's a solitary hobby. We're alone in our homes, in our little room with our radios. We usually have people around us that just look at us like we are from another planet. And here, we're all together, a great bunch of people that just enjoy one thing, listening to the radio, and we're just having fun, and this is cool. So thank you, Sheldon. It's much appreciated. Hey, Richard Tribble, nice to have you here. Hope you are going well. Dave Todd says coming into sporadic East season should be opening soon. Yes, you know, we're getting into May. Even though, because you got to be careful, sporadic E can happen anytime. But yes, there are periods in the year that have more chances of having sporadic E. And May, June, July, great time period for that. So and sporadic E will open the bands a lot. Thank you, Sheldon. Nice to have you here. And another, just a last reminder: anybody that wants to have Okay, Sheldon is president of the Canadian International DX Club, which is a Canadian radio club here in Canada. They have a electronic bulletin every month called the Messenger, and it is a great little, a great little publication. They talk about almost anything about shortwave. There's some loggings. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. And if you want to have all the information of the Canadian International DX Club, but even better yet, you can have a free sample copy of the latest CIDX Messenger Bulletin. So to ask for that, go to cidxclub@yahoo.com. cidxclub@yahoo.com. And you know what? It's very inexpensive. It's like $10 a year. And you have every month a nice little PDF publication in your email that talks about radio. It's a cool thing. And it's Canada's radio club, I believe, one of the last ones that exist here in Canada. So nice to have everybody here. Good evening, Sheldon. Take care. Always nice to have you on board, and really, really nice to have all of you there. So Richard in Sherbrooke, whose call sign is VA2RHT. Exactly. Like PA1SBM said, it's nice to be able to look at what people are receiving in your area. Okay, Bobby Burgess, and I was actually thinking about, I need to explain it also. What is sporadic E? Okay, so log 2112, hello there, nice to have you on board. Okay, there are different ways of signal propagation, and the shortwave bands, okay, the shortwave frequency range. Typically, the reason why signals propagate to us is because they reflect on a layer of the atmosphere on Earth that's called the ionosphere, very high up, about 100 kilometers over our head, 60 miles over our head. And that region, of course, we know that the higher frequencies often do not propagate at night. Or when the solar flux or the solar index are low, well, a frequency like, for example, the 10 meter band, 28 megahertz, might not propagate, because if you transmit there, signal goes right through and is lost into space. But there's all sorts of weird phenomena for radio propagation, and it's cool because, we're in 2017, and I think our hobby and what we do in amateur radio operators all have something important in what we do, is that we still don't understand a lot of the radio propagation stuff. We still have a lot of things that are PA1 SBM. I just gave you moderator status because I've seen you for many times, so you can post links now if you want. Just post the link. You'll be able now, PA1 SBM. So, okay, what happens is that there's a phenomenon called sporadic E-skip, and these are ionized patches of the ionosphere that suddenly appear, and they are very, very intense. And we still don't know exactly what creates them. We know that 2 periods are pretty good for that. December, around Christmas time, and summer is even better. Usually the best months, June, July, but I have it a little larger, from May to August. You got to check that out from time to time. Personally, I've noticed that when it's very hot, in the summer times when it's very hot, and we start seeing reports of tornadoes and a lot of thunderstorms going through, very often, I've noticed that very often during that period, there's sporadic E-skip. So there's possibility, there's all sorts of rumors of why sporadic E-spots appear. Some say thunderstorms might actually be creating some ionized patches in the ionosphere. Maybe that's why summer's good. But there's all sorts of little details. I've read a very I didn't read. I watched I think it was a documentary that talked about what caused sporadic E-skip and what they were thinking. There's all sorts of even crazy theories of that. But what happens is that when that shows up, when a patch of ionized ionosphere appears, which is what we call sporadic E, it is usually very intense. And it's so intense actually that not only shortwave signals propagate through it, but often it can even propagate FM stations far away on around 90 megahertz, 80 megahertz. An example of that, when I was younger and I had a black and white TV that I used for DXing TV signals far away. And when summer came, there was sporadic E, and the lower channels and analog back then were around 57, 60, 70 megahertz. And when sporadic E-skip happened, often I would receive on channel 3 or 4 stations from Florida, Alabama, Texas on the TV just with rabbit ears. So that phenomenon means that, for example, if it would happen tonight, you might be surprised that at 1 o'clock in the morning, you're hearing tons of signals on the 10 meter band, 28 megahertz. Oh, you're already moderator, Richard, by the way. I see your there's a little wrench right next to your name. You are. You already are. So anyways, one of the ways that I will check for sporadic E-skip is CB channels. And one of the best places is channel 6. So here on my CB, I might be tuning channel 6. And on channel 6, if I hear something from American CBers through skip, or if you don't have a CB, 27.025. That's where I leave my radio sometimes on that frequency, because that's the crazy channel for skip on CB. And when sporadic E-skip happens, you start hearing tons of CBers from everywhere there. When that happens, I know that sporadic E-skip is probably happening. So it's very cool. And one of the websites that I use for that is, oh man, I'm trying to remember that. What is that? Let me just check it out here. I'm trying to give that to you guys. Sporadic E-skip propagation map, and I'm just gonna remember. Okay, dxmaps.com. dxmaps.com is a real-time map of what's happening with sporadic E and propagation from different frequencies. So I'm going to put it in the chat here. dxmaps.com is a great one for that. Here we go. Look at that. You can put the map for North America, Europe, the full world. You can choose a frequency you want to listen to, and there's a lot of information there, and it's pretty cool. So Dave Todd says, I worked for the M&R here in Ontario on 70s. The radios were on 46 megahertz. Got pretty wild in the summer with police and stuff from the States. Absolutely. I heard sporadic as in crazy. Not sporadic. Sporadic. So, anyways, it's the dxmaps.com is a great place and a great tool to use for that. And it's pretty crazy. I've heard police from all over the United States in the 30 to 50 megahertz region. So sporadic E, it becomes so intense in ionization. What's cool is that you can actually tune in, like 50 megahertz. It's a 60 meter amateur band, 50 to 54. It's really, it's usually a local VHF band. But when sporadic E happens, now you guys are really making me go crazy now because I'm thinking of my pronunciation when I when I say it. So when sporadic E skip happens and the patch is ionized strongly enough, 50 megahertz, the 6 meter amateur band, actually comes alive with stations from far away. To give you an idea, every year I hear stations from the United States. 2 or 3 years ago, I caught a CW Morse code station from Mexico. It was amazing on 50 megahertz. And of course, some people DX FM bands when sporadic E skip happens. So pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. You can hear a lot of stuff, and it's really, really amazing. As for the other question that I saw go through, is the solar flux. What's better, solar flux? Of course, technically, it's better to have a higher solar flux. Okay, so solar flux goes from about 60 to 400. To give you an idea, right now, let's check out the solar flux right now. Solar flux is dx.qsl.net. We're going to check out the solar flux right now. So 60 to 400, solar flux right now 77. It's quite low. Usually you want to have a higher solar flux because the solar flux indice number is pretty much an equal presentation of the amount of energy the sun is actually sending out. Because the reason why the ionosphere exists is in big part because the sun's ultraviolet rays and the energy that it sends out is ionizing the upper layer of our atmosphere. And that's why it's called the ionosphere. And of course, the higher the solar flux number, it means the higher the output of energy from the sun. And the higher output of energy from the sun means that the ionosphere is thicker. The ionosphere is better. And so what happens is that it means signals will propagate better. So that's why technically a higher solar flux is better and will make the signals propagate better, especially on the higher frequencies. It's like Radio Kuwait. A lot of you told me, oh, Radio Kuwait, lately I hear the first hour, then it fades out. Well, there's a lot of things going on here that makes it fade out after an hour. First of all, the darkness pattern. But you know what? If that solar flux would be 150 instead of 77, it might actually make a difference and we could hear the full 3-hour broadcast. Because the ionization of the ionosphere is better. It supports more the frequencies that it wants to reflect. And of course, because it's ionized stronger, when nighttime comes, it takes more time for it to degrade. So it propagates better even part of the night. So it's really a question of, technically, it's not, 1 + 1 = 2, but it is really, amazing when you think about it. Hey, Captain Ron, nice to have you here. Says propagation is almost a hobby in itself. Absolutely, guys. DXing on meteor trails and tropical storm fronts, cool stuff. Absolutely, Captain Ron. You know what? I haven't done that much with that, but every time, in the summertime, every time I see that they're announcing that a cold front is going to sweep across and we're going to go from really warm to cooler weather and stuff like that, I always try different little things. Sporadic E can happen from that probably. Another one is the in the VHF UHF range, tropospheric ducting. Often when there are cold fronts or warm fronts going through, and there's different temperature in the air masses in the VHF UHF range, you suddenly have tropoducting, and those frequencies propagate farther than usual. I remember one evening listening to a local 2-meter amateur repeater on 146.700, and VHF 2 meters, 146 megahertz is usually a line of sight. But that one evening, they were announcing a cold front would sweep through the night. And I remember we were hearing, and everybody was amazed. Instead of the usual, 40, 50 mile or 40, 50 kilometer distance that the repeater actually gets, we were receiving amateur stations from 100, 150 kilometers away as if they were local, right here. It lasted all through the night. And then the next morning, everything went back to normal. We couldn't hear them again. It's amazing weather phenomenons and propagation. There's so many things. Some people actually like, doing contacts through meteor trails. When there's a meteor that enters the atmosphere, it actually ionizes the ionosphere a little bit. Some people have contacts with that. It's amazing when you think about it. It is an electric universe, I can tell you that. Totally. It's really amazing. Hey there, Jeffrey Crump. Nice to have you on board. Pretty cool. So there's a lot of stuff that's pretty amazing, and I gotta say, pretty cool. Hey, Dean B 1709. Nice to have you on board. One last time. I'm having a very crappy AdSense monetization. If you guys want to help me, this will be the last time that I'll post this information for today. You can donate through PayPal. So in the chat, of course, I am sending out the email for the PayPal donations. And by the way, thank you. I've had 6 people donate today. So why not, think about a little something if you can. So PayPal donations at the Yahoo email that I'm just posting here. And also patreon.com. You can become my patron and basically have a little something for me every month. It's another way to just, forget about it and let it do. Any amount helps, by the way. Don't think that if you're sending me $1 that it's like, the guy's going to laugh and you're just sending me $1. No, I never. You know what? Any amount helps, and I want to thank you all for being here. And it's much appreciated. It helps me continue doing these things, which I really love doing, by the way. So thank you, everybody that's donated today. It's always really cool to have all of you here. It's really, really nice. Okay, yeah, mostly like Captain Ron says, mostly these are data mode for very, very short duration contacts. That's true. They have these little contacts for that. F4GVE, Adrien, hello there from Spain. Nice to have you on board. And it's so amazing when you think about it. James W says 10 meter DX point to point is the ultimate challenge. 10 meters. I had it's funny because I have a video, that explains every amateur band. And one of the videos that I posted was a video about the 10-meter band. And it's funny because I get these smart-ass amateur guys that send me that post these comments like, well, 10 meter is dead and it's never going to open, and now that we're in the low solar cycle, 10 meter will not propagate for the next few years. And every time I see that, it just reminds me how it's not because you're an amateur radio operator that you understand radio propagation. Fastlow that is sometimes in the chat room, we often talk about how when you listen to the 2-meter band, how a lot of amateur radio operators have so little knowledge of radio propagation, electronics, and everything. And you know what? When somebody posts a comment like, you know what, 10-meter band is going to be dead for the next few years, don't bother going tune. That's really short-sighted, because there's sporadic e-openings. There's so many things that make the 10-meter band open suddenly that I'm sorry, but I can tell you one thing. In the next few weeks and months, I can bet you guys I'm going to post several 10-meter videos just to show them wrong, okay? Because I got to say, when I see somebody saying, oh, don't go there, it's useless, don't buy a 10-meter rig, you're going to lose your money. I'm sorry, but you're just dumb and don't understand anything, okay? And I shouldn't say dumb, you're ignorant. You're ignorant, but you're thinking that you know everything. And that's also something that I hate. When you think you know something and you don't. I have the honesty of saying, well, that part of my, knowledge, I don't have much. And I don't have any, pretension that I know everything also. And I know that I could post something that might be wrong, and some of you guys will correct me, but I gotta say, 10-meter is something that you have to go regularly. Hey, Brett Wayne says he goes to 10-meter and 6-meter all the time. It's the same thing. It's a reflex. I have to, go there all the time because I have to look at it for sure. Jerry says heard several 10-meter contacts in the past 3 weeks. Here it goes. 10 meters and 6 meters is amazing. You just got to check it out regularly, because you'll be surprised when it's open. I actually would even add, very often it's open, but because nobody wants to bother to go there to check it out, there's nobody on. But then one guy keys his transmitter and it's like, hey, this thing is open. I'm hearing a station from Texas that's not even getting a reply because nobody's listening, or I'm listening but I can't transmit to him. And he thinks 10 meters dead, but it's open. It happens very often. Very often. Very, 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 very amazing propagation, I can tell you that. Ethan Best said, sort of late, but there is a theory that sporadic E-openings happen more during low points in solar cycles. It's possible, all of that is possible. All of that is possible. There could be some interaction we don't understand. There could be, I saw a documentary that mentioned that it could be a mix of maybe thunderstorms and micrometeorites that are entering the atmosphere. The two of them together create some kind of interaction with our atmosphere. There's a lot of stuff that we don't know. That's why when somebody tells me, why the hell do you want to listen to the radio in 2017? Why the hell we need amateur radio operators in 2017? I always reply back for several reasons. Not just that, for example, I think very highly of amateur radio operators that can help in moments of disaster. And, we had a great example of that in the ice storm of 1998 here, where the police communications couldn't go through anymore, but amateur radio operators were here and were communicating the help we needed. Great example of that. But also, there's a lot of unknowns in radio propagation. There's a lot of things we don't know anything about. There's Spartic E. Nobody can tell you exactly, it happens because of that. No, it's some part of the unknowns of radio propagation. And it's just so cool. And that's why we just need people, and we need to have, just listen and look. Like Richard Tribble says, don't believe all you hear and see. The best way is to turn on your radio and see for yourself. And that is exactly why sometimes somebody will say, hey, you've got that station and I never hear it. Or you've got that DX thing that I've never heard. And I'm like, well, even though somebody told me, 10 meters dead, or somebody told me that this is dead, look, somebody right now would be telling me, hey, you know what, 10 meter band's dead. Oh, with, the low solar flex and everything. But you know what? I'm the kind of guy that even though I know that the chances are that it probably is, I still go in 10 meter band and start tuning around. And see if there's something. So yeah, right now, pretty dead. But you know what? It doesn't mean that in half an hour it's going to be dead. It doesn't mean that later tonight it's going to be dead. It's dead now, but it can open up anytime. Something can happen and sporadic E-skip suddenly happens. It's amazing. Always amazing. You got to be very, very careful about that. Very, very careful about that. So, Hey there, 1990 Sunburn. Nice to have you on board. Like David, I've heard so many times the New York FM repeater on 29620 in FM mode. CBers on 27025 channel 6. When propagation is good, we hear it all the time. So Captain Ron says 10 meters is like a barometer of what propagation is like across the bands. Exactly. Even worse, like Richard Tribble says, like weather forecast, go look out the window and see for yourself. And one of the things that makes it funny is that sometimes you'll hear the weather report saying, hey, it's raining outside, and you're like, it's kind of sunny here, so you gotta, what can we influence? One of the things that's the questions, can man influence the propagation and the solar flux and stuff like that? No, we have no for the closest thing that can influence that, okay, is HARP, the Alaska what is it? HARP is high auroral something. Anyways, I don't remember the full name, but it's that facility that the University of Alaska has bought. They can influence the ionosphere just above that area with a megawatt transmitter. But apart from that, there's very little that man does that changes anything in the propagation itself. Basically, for shortwave, and we're really talking about shortwave here. John Riston says a lot of amateur operators are blinded by the online DX guides and DX spots rather than listening or transmitting. This applies to all. Absolutely. Just find my 10-meter video and look at the amount of comments of people that are negative and saying, 10 meters dead, there's never nothing there, don't bother. When I see a comment like that, the only thing I feel like I would like to say back is, you should do something else and be an amateur radio operator, because you don't understand a thing. It's just amazing. And yes, there's a lot of online stuff, but I got to say one thing. There's a lot of online stuff that you got to be careful what you see. Well, I don't know. Patrick Manny says, what about volcanic eruptions? They might, yes, it's not impossible that volcanic eruptions might somehow interfere with, with the ionosphere and radio propagation. I mean, really big volcanic eruptions do a lot of they have a really big effect on Earth. So anything is possible. Anything is possible. Same for me. Tin Best says, I love the conspiracy theories about ARP. I love them also. It's like every time I hear somebody. I heard Alex Jones talking about how they were doing mind control with HARP many months ago, and I was like, oh God, please. Ah, man, just amazing. One of the things that we gotta be careful is also is that a lot of people are saying, hey, you know what, there's nothing to listen to on 10 meters and so on. But one of the things that I remember is, many of us have been listening to shortwave or have been amateur radio operators for decades. And I come from an era where solar cycles were very strong. The last solar cycle is very weak compared to everything that I've seen in the past. And I'm pretty sure that many of you that have been listening for decades, like me, we come from a period where solar cycles were so strong that 10 meters was like open all the time. I remember having 10 meters open almost every day for years because of the high solar index and everything. It's amazing. But now we're in a period that's a little different. And yeah, a solar flux of 77 might not be strong enough to basically power up the 10-meter band, but there's a lot of other things that can power it up. 1990 Sunbird, I talked about it a little earlier, so I'm not going to repeat myself for that. But if you wish to know more about eSkip, when the show's over, just go back to maybe 20 minutes back in time or something like that, half an hour. And you'll see I have an explanation of sporadic eSkip, which is very, very interesting phenomenon. James W. says the SDR internet radios are interesting for propagation observation. Yes, they are, because you can see the types of propagation of different areas around the world. We got to remember one thing also: where we live, how far north or south compared to the equator, or wherever we live, has an impact of different propagation everywhere. So you might see something in a part of the world you don't see in another part of the world. So it is true that these are interesting for that. Absolutely. Can tell you that. Absolutely. Dean B 1709 says, radio is such a great hobby. I've been into it from the age of 9, and I'm now 50. You know, I'm 48, and I probably started listening to radio stuff. You know, okay, if you count the Ernie in the bathtub AM radio, probably from the age of 7 or 8, but real interest that I started noticing there was all these signals and all these things to listen to. Maybe 11 or 12 years old, and my first shortwave radio at 13. Man, a fascinating hobby. Fascinating when you take the time to understand also all that surrounds it. It's just amazing. MDK2 says, when I first got into shortwave listening, I had a day of finding all kinds of Spanish stuff on 26, 27 megahertz. I haven't heard that stuff again except on Mexican calling frequencies. Didn't know it was rare. PA1 SBM says he's worked the 10-meter repeater in New York. Hey, I remember the last big solar cycle we had in the 90s, having a scanner, and I was up north. And I remember we were doing something that I had to wait like for a couple of hours alone for somebody to pick me up, and I picked up my scanner radio and I punched in 29660, and I remember, I don't know if it still exists, but I remember back then all afternoon, okay, I waited for like 3 hours, and for 3 hours I was listening to contacts going through a Virgin Island repeater on 29660, I believe. And I was amazed in FM mode. I was amazed. I was like, wow, this is so cool, listening to the Virgin Islands repeater, 29660. You know, I think the best of us, the ones that really do really cool propagation, really cool listening, really cool stuff, are the ones that tune around everywhere all the time. All the time. Hey, 73 Kid Eddie. It was nice to have you on board. Thank you very much for being here as usual. Always nice to have everybody here. Hello there, Shortwave guests. Sorry for the IRC chat room. I sometimes don't check it too much. But hey, everyone. Okay, what else do we have here? So you're watching, by the way, for anybody that's here and you have no idea what we're talking about and what this is a shortwave radio show. It's every week. It alternates on Fridays and Saturdays. And so today's Saturday show. Next one will be Friday at 2000 hours Universal Time. We talk about shortwave radio, about radio in general, answer questions, tune the bands, just have a lot of fun. And it's really, really cool to be here. So thanks, everyone. And by the way, thank you, everyone that have donated during the show today. It's very appreciated. It helps me a lot. And, you know, it also helps me, you know, think of how I need to continue doing this because it's just so cool. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And I know you guys have a lot of fun also being here and watching and talking about radio. And, you know, I'm amazed at how fantastic the chat room is. You know, when I look everybody in the chat room right now, just great people, just great times we're having, and just so cool to have the privilege for me to do this, and also have the privilege of being a big mouth. You know, usually a big mouth is not welcome, but in things like this, a big mouth is the best thing you can have because you just can talk your way. You know, I don't know how many people told me I couldn't do what you're doing. I just freeze and not know what to do after 30 seconds. And but you know, I have guides. I have different things. I have always have a couple of notes with me to be able to basically, you know, guide myself into something that I need to talk about. But also, the chat room is great because, you know, got great questions, got a lot of interesting stuff. That we can talk about, and it's really, really cool. So thank you all for being here, by the way, because it's just amazing. Just amazing. Um, what else do we have here? Okay. James W. says Uniden sold a lot of 10-meter radios in those days. Yeah. Yeah. Jerry DX says, listening to shortwave in the 80s, you could turn the dial a bit and there was a station, lots and lots of stations. Yeah, back then the problem was not trying to find a station. The problem back then was actually, if you had a crappy radio, it was difficult to make out one station out of others. I remember with this DX100 here, which was my first shortwave radio, I had a lot of difficulty tuning one station because there were like stations everywhere. Those were just so wonderful days that I'm so happy to have lived. I gotta say. Radio Canada International. Yeah, that's so cool. Good old days with Moscow Nats. Yeah, Moscow Nights. Hey, here. I'll bring back a little bit of memories for you guys that were listening back then. Here is, and I, you know what? Every time I listen to this, I suddenly just go back in time suddenly, like 30 years. So here, guys, just to have you guys take a little listen here, and so this, for anybody watching and saying, what is that? This, for many years, Radio Moscow had that little bit of music when they didn't have anything to do in programming. They would announce the frequencies they were broadcasting, usually like 15 or 20 at a time. And they would then say, okay, at the top of the hour, we'll have the news and everything. And then we had that tune, which is called Moscow Nights. And they had that for a couple of minutes before they would actually go at the top of the hour. So anybody that listened to shortwave a lot back then and listened to Radio Moscow back then, that tune you just can't forget. Never, because it's like, okay. And you know, I was listening to that and I'm like back 30 years suddenly, when Radio Moscow and the USSR and, you know, the Cold War and everything. Crazy times. I still remember the Cold War. You know, you guys, this week, April 26th, was the 31st anniversary of the Chernobyl nuclear accident in Ukraine. And actually, I was listening to Radio Ukraine on April 26th, and they actually talked about it. So, you know, You know what? Electrician-free territory. You got to take those cassette tapes and transform those into MP3s. Put them on YouTube or anywhere. And by the way, for anybody wondering about the copyrights, I've never had a copyright notice from that song. So I don't know. And it's just funny, you know. Here, let's have a little fun here, if you guys want to, a little bit. Let's have. Okay, here is. Here is a little station that was one of my favorite and one of the programs that was really, really cool back then. This is from Radio Sweden. It's a 1980 recording of their DX show that was called Sweden Calling DXers.
Edition number 1575 of Sweden Calling DXers. And today's program was compiled with the help of 65 contributors. And this week we'll start off with some publications. First of all, Mickey Vassella has just published the third issue of External Services of African Stations. This is issued on a regular basis each March, May, September, and November as a free supplement for the subscribers to QTH Africa, which comes out every 10 days. External Services of African Stations is also available separately for 2 IRCs, and that's for airmail anywhere in the world. If you're interested, you could write to QTH Africa, Post Office Box 28250, Pretoria, 0132, South Africa. You've also asked Mickey about QTH Africa itself, because that's a very interesting guide to changes in the African radio scene. We've received the first issue of the monthly reports of the Asian Broadcasting Institute. It's 7 pages in length, and this issue is a comprehensive listing of schedules of various stations in China and Taiwan. A 12-month subscription costs 4,000 yen for overseas airmail, and they say that they want...
This is a 1980 broadcast of a show called Sweden Calling DXers from Radio Sweden International.
You can write to the Asian Broadcasting Institute, CPO Box...
Hello there, Mr. Max.
334
RD7K.
100-91 in Japan. Now it's time to go on to this week's DX tips. All times, as usually, are in Greenwich Mean Time.
Okay, here is what the interval signal was.
The monthly reports of the Asian Broadcasting Institute. This particular item was...
Radio Sweden interval signal was this.
Sverige Radio Utland-programmet.
Yeah, that is true, Jerry. A lot of people from back then are maybe not here anymore.
Radio Sweden, Stockholm.
Radio Schweden, Stockholm. Radio Svezia e Stoccolmo.
So there's Radio Sweden. Hey guys, if you listen to HCJB, here is something that you probably know what this is. And here we go. This is a show that you probably know what this is for anybody that...
We'll be reaching 5,000 and we'll find out who the number 5,000 is.
So here it is.
DX Party Line. This is a program for DXers by DXers and about the DXing hobby. We invite you to stay tuned for the next 30 minutes to the DX Party Line. difficult or hard, I don't know quite how to describe it, program for us because, as you may realize, some of you I'm sure have heard that we'll be leaving Quito soon, and this is the last time that we'll be hosting a DX party line. It's going to be hard for us. We're going to miss being on the air twice a week.
It was so amazing.
Shortwave listeners, but we do appreciate all the contacts we've made. We will be reaching.
And by the way, that card they would send out, because that was the last broadcast from Clayton Howard and Helen Howard, and I have somewhere in one of my books the card that they gave back then, which is exactly that one here in the video. No, I don't have that from DXer.com. 2 CDs with old ID recordings. I'd like to get that. Do they still sell it, Richard? I'd like to know. I'd be interested in getting that for sure. Good night, Electrician Free Territory. Always nice to have everybody on board, by the way. Kevin Weiss says his dad had a military radio that's so good, even without an antenna. Yeah, a lot of radios were good. Okay, here is another interval signal from a station that is long gone, from a time period that was also very, very particular for, well, it's not long gone, it's a different station today. So here we are. Hey, I remember listening to that on my DX100 here. I even still remember they were on 9615 kilohertz in the evening to North America. So, man. Okay. By the way, this interval signal from Radio RSA is still the same interval signal on Channel Africa, which is now what Radio RSA was back then, but now they are focusing to Africa. But the tune, it doesn't have guitar and birds anymore. But if you listen to the interval signal of Channel Africa, it's the exact same tune. They just modernized it for Channel Africa. And Channel Africa is Radio RSA from the times. It's just that now they're focusing on African content only. So it's pretty amazing. Man. Okay, here's another one from when China Radio International used to be called Radio Peking on shortwave. So I believe this recording is from an old time. Okay. Radio Peking interval signal.
Radio Peking. This is Radio Peking.
So Radio Peking. And you know what, Dave Todd? They were on 25790. And I can actually tell you, I actually have a QSL card here. And you know what? I'm going to actually, I think, show you guys the QSL from 25790. Back when, yes, stations were still broadcasting on the 11-meter band of shortwave. That gives you an idea of how high the interval signal, the solar flux was back then. So this is a QSL, one of my many QSL books, by the way. Radio Moscow. Okay, let's just check Radio RSA here. I must have some Radio RSA stuff somewhere, but I'll have to go. There's so many QSLs in here that I'm trying to see if I can find one of the... Hey guys, look at this. These are HCJB QSL cards from the time. HCJB QSL cards from the time. Here. These are HCJB cards. What was there? This was the first ever QSL I got from HCJB is the one here at the top in 1983. And it was the year of telecommunications. The one at the bottom is also an HCJB card. So amazing. And I do have somewhere. I don't know if I'll find it, but there's a QSL card from Radio RSA in here. Radio Bulgaria cards. Right now, this is amazing. Call Israel, Radio Polonia, Austria, Bulgaria, another Israel here. These are QSL cards from Radio Austria, Radio France, New Zealand, Radio New Zealand here too. First QSL I've ever received from New Zealand is this one. First QSL from Austria was this one, 6 March 1983. So you guys see that I've been listening for a long time. So there's a lot of stuff here, but Radio RSA, I can't find it because I need it, but Radio RSA was broadcasting on 25790. Hey, look at that, guys. These are beautiful, beautiful cards from Radio Australia from the 80s. Radio Australia card here too. Really beautiful cards they had. Radio Australia. These are all Radio Australia cards. Look at that. These are really nice. And these are from the years 1986. This is 1984. 1989. Amazing. Can't find it, but Radio RSA was on 25790 back then. I remember because I could receive it during the day with my DX, my Radio Shack DX 302. It was amazing. So, oh, if you want to, Richard, would be nice. Would be nice, but if I'm contributing, I also can buy them. But would be nice, Richard. Drop me a line at official Shortwave Radio at gmail.com. So these are nice cards. Radio RSA is amazing. Lots of cool. I've got like 3 books like this, full of QSL cards. When I want to really get nostalgic and go back in time, what I do is I just open this book and start looking at all the QSLs from back then. It's like, man, you just have a trip down memory lane. It's just amazing. I can tell you that. Just amazing. Oh man, I remember, Dave Todd says he spent a lot on IRCs. I remember going to the post office when I was 13, 14 years old. And here, I still remember sending an international letter in 1983 was 64 cents. 64 Canadian cents. And I remember every time I would have a little bit of money, the only thing I would do with my money is buy stamps in envelopes. And I remember I was with my friend Jean-Pierre, which also was listening to Shortwave, because he started looking at what I was doing and he found it so cool. And what happened is that we would go together to the post office and buy stamps. So I remember going to the post office and saying, okay, I'm going to buy, I want to have 25 stamps, 64 cents. But I would go every week. And she was looking at me at once and she said, can I ask you a question? What are you doing with all these stamps? And I told her, well, we're listening to international broadcasts on Shortwave, and we're sending them, letters, and they reply back with cards. And I remember I had brought some of the cards, QSL cards, and envelopes from stations I received, and she just looked at me and said, "This is so cool. I've never heard of that before." So it's just amazing. Yeah, if they don't have them anymore, I don't know. It could be really cool. Hey, FB Lassie says we have some of the same QSLs. Yeah, I'm sure. If anybody that listened for a long time, we have some of the same QSLs too. Richard are from the 70s. So cool, so cool. Radio Toronto right now on 5850. Thanks MDK2 for letting us know. 5850. It's a little noisy here, but 5850 Radio Toronto rebroadcast right now. Really cool, really cool. So that could be cool to reissue these. Yes, for sure. David says, wow, Gilles, I only have 2 QSLs from CRI. Be sure to treat them well. For me, those would be precious treasures. I was thinking of, there's a website that is promoting the, when people, when we die, when we pass away, of course, a lot of people have collections of QSL. And there's a website, and I'm trying to remember what's the name. It's a web. It's actually a place for the preservation of radio, all sorts of radio goodies like QSLs, pennants, and everything. And they actually, you can have them. You can send your collection to them once you die if you want, and they will take care of it and keep it. And it's like to keep the memory alive of everything that we could and we had back then. It's kind of cool. Jello Radio, how to build a cheap shortwave antenna. All the articles on the internet aren't very easy to understand. Take a piece of wire and throw it out your window and put it the other, of course not all the wire out the window, but you put one wire on the antenna part, and just put the other end through the window outside, or if you can hang it to a tree or something, it's already a start. And that's the cheapest shortwave antenna you'll have. Just a piece of wire. The only thing about a piece of wire or a wire antenna is sometimes it brings in a lot of noise. But it's, wow. Here, the problem is my noise, because it's at S8, around S8 right now, S9. If it wasn't for the high noise, because around that frequency my noise is S7, I would actually be able to listen to Radio Toronto if it wasn't for my high noise level. Wow, that's a good signal there, Richard. S9 plus 10. Wow, pretty cool. So Radio Toronto back thanks to this. Is the Sangean ANT60? Is that the, what is that? The ANT60? I'm just gonna check out if what it is exactly. I think I know, but I just want to make sure it's the correct one. Sangean ANT60. What is that? Oh, okay. Yeah, I've got that. I'm going to even show you where it is. So the Sangean ANT60 is right here. This. So here we go. I've got it right here. Now it's kind of tangled, but anyways, this is what the ANT60 is all about. It's a reel-in antenna, like a little fishing line if you want, with the reel-in. There's a clip at one end, and there's the connector at the other end. Yes, you know what? This is actually very cool to have, because when you go somewhere, say you go to a park, or you go to an area where you can listen to shortwave with a portable receiver, it's cool because you could just stretch it out, clip it to a tree or anything, listen to shortwave, and then you just reel in the wire antenna back. It is this is a good thing to have for anybody that has a portable radio that likes to, have a portable way of bringing an antenna somewhere. Very, very cool to have, and works very well. So this is something nice to have. Absolutely. I use this one a lot. When I just want to go out and just, tune shortwave a little bit, I just extend it, clip it on a tree, listen. When it's over, you unclip it, you just reel it back. It's portable and it's really nice. Ethan Best says, question that I haven't found an answer to. If I wanted to make a wire antenna to plug into a 3.5 millimeter jack, would I just need a mono 3.5 millimeter cable? Not an easy answer, because the radios that accept these types of connectors are not all the same. Now, if you look at this one has only one separation, so technically this is a mono jack. A stereo jack has two black strips on it. So technically, yes, a mono jack should work, but it is dependent on your radio, because not all radios, I have like 10 radios here. I have a couple of them that this antenna doesn't work. This plug does not work in it. So it depends on how the radio was actually done and how the plug needs to be. Some actually have a longer plug here to have the connection done. And but technically, yeah, mono is all you need, because you just need the center connector for the wire, and the other connector is for the shield, for if you want to have a shield in part of the wire. But it's technically it's just it's just a connector. You don't really need a stereo plug to have it working. David says, got the Senjini NT60, has served me well. Me too. It has served me well a lot with my radios. That's true. So hey guys, 3 hours 20 minutes. I'm gonna start wrapping up, but before we go, I'll have a last little trip down memory lane. Okay. Here is another station from the past, and here is here is the last station we'll do tonight. And here we go. Wait, that's not it. So this is, of course, the GDR, the German Democratic Republic, the East Germany, as we all said. And this is one amazing part. There's one broadcast, by the way, on YouTube which is the last transmission. And I think it's, trying to find it, but they have the last transmission from Radio Berlin International. Almost all of it online. It's pretty cool, and you know, it's so different. It's just, you know, we see the sadness in this station back then. Hey, take care, Richard. Hey, Andrew Foreman, nice to see you here. Casper Peterson, nice to have you here. And tuning in from Andrew Foreman from Manitoba. Always nice to have everybody on board. Captain Ron, what do you have? Ernie Turner. Dejan 31, indoor medium wave shortwave receiver, soft loop and magnetic portable antenna. Not bad. You know what? I almost bought one the other day. I wanted to try it out. So are you guys saying I should buy one and talk about it on one of my videos? The Dejan antenna, loop antenna. Should I try that? Maybe I should. Here is another interval signal from. So we're in the memory lane moment here. So here is another shortwave station. You can see this was really a shortwave recording because you could hear all the interference from other stations. Copyright, you know, interval signals, station programming, stuff like that, there's no copyright problems. You know, I've posted a lot of videos of stations that I hear on shortwave. I've never had a copyright notice. Where I get copyright notices is when it's popular music. Anything that is a popular song is a problem, but not, you know, not things like that. Okay, what else do we have here? This is, so that was Swiss Radio International. That was Swiss Radio International, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned it, but Swiss Radio International we just heard. So this is Radio Moscow, old interval signal, and apparently Ethan Best's ringtone. My ringtone is the BBC. So that was Radio Moscow. Yes, it was Radio Moscow. So okay, Ernie, you've convinced me. I'm gonna purchase one this week. I thought it was not very expensive. I'm gonna purchase one this week, and I'll post a video about it, and I'll be trying it out. So you convinced me. Cool. I'll be using some of the donations tonight to purchase that antenna and talk about it. So that's true, Scotty Tier 6. That's a very, very, very good idea, because a lot of people don't know why there were these little songs like that. And it's because, even Fastload, a friend of mine that we see in the chat from time to time, once told me, I don't understand why these little songs before the broadcast. So let's go back in 1970s, okay? Back then, having a digital readout on a receiver was rare. They were very expensive radios. Most people, you know, I had a DX100, this one, that's analog. So most people had a dial with numbers and a little needle. And you got to find a station in there. You find a station in there. So what do? You have to find a way to have your station get out from the crowd. So every shortwave station had their little tune that they would play for several minutes before the broadcast. It would give you the time to find your favorite station before the broadcast started. And for example, a great thing is, earlier I made you listen to Radio RSA South Africa. I remember on this one tuning around a minute or two before the broadcast to find the interval signal from South Africa, and then I would know that I was on Radio RSA. So these interval signals were there to help us find the stations we wanted to listen to when we didn't have, of course, most radios were very, very broad in where we are tuning exactly. So it would help us, really help us a lot in tuning around the international broadcast bands. Okay, you guys gonna have this one. It's easy.
Radio Canada International.
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 You know what? MDK2. So this was Radio Canada International. You know what? MDK2 saying the old interval signals were so weird that they were half the appeal. And you know what? I remember listening to stations in languages I did not understand just to listen to their interval signal because I thought they were so cool and so weird and so exotic. Yep, Radio Canada brings back a lot of memories, eh? Amazing. What else do we have here that we can do? Oh, I didn't know about that. Somebody posted the final transmission of Swiss Radio International on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube, you guys. If you guys want to really listen to some weird stuff, let's check it out here. What do we have? Anything else? Anything else? Oh my God. Okay, this is an old one from a station that is on the air now, but so different. And I want you guys to try to guess this. I don't know if they'll have it. Oh, they don't have it. Man, it's sad. That's an interesting one to get, and it's I remember that was the first interval signal I've heard from them back then. Let me see if I can get it here. They don't have the old one. Before Radio Exterior de España, in 1982, when I started listening to Shortwave, that station was called Spanish Foreign Radio. And they had a very unique interval signal back then. But unfortunately, I can't find it. Oh man. That was something. Spanish Foreign Radio. And the interval signal was way different back then. Way different. I said they don't have it. They don't have it. Okay. Oh, 1971. What is this station?
radiodiffusion télévision Bulgare.
So this is Radio Sofia, but because before it was called Radio Bulgaria, back then it was called Radio Sofia. Yes, Randall Ramsey says I should have an interval signal for my show. That's true, I should have an interval signal. You know what? I'm thinking of really having a couple of hours of shortwave show starting in September, if I can find a way to fund it. And of course, one of the things that's going to be fun about it is I'm going to have an interval signal for the show. And one of the things, of course, I want to do is every show will have its mystery interval signal of the week. And there's going to be a lot of things. So you know, I'm trying to think how it's going to be, but you know, it's going to be really, really cool. So fun show. Hey, you guys, I've been on for 3 hours 35 minutes. I'm kind of very hungry, and the sun is setting and it's getting cold, and I want to have hamburgers on the barbecue. So hope you guys enjoyed the show for today. It was really, really nice to do. Last time here, I will just post a little something here if you guys want to help me. So PayPal donations, of course, and Patreon. Hope you guys enjoyed today's show. Was very, very, very cool to do, as usual. And there will be, in the next week or two, a special shortwave show on this channel, because I wanted to, you know, I told you guys if I get donations that I would be doing a special shortwave show, and there's going to be one coming this soon. Unfortunately, I'm thinking of maybe doing it, and I'm sorry for those that are working, but I'm thinking of doing it maybe a Wednesday evening. So either a Wednesday evening or you know, we'll see. I'll try to do it in you know, the best way possible, but I will be doing a special extra show just to kind of say thank you to everybody for the donations you've given me, and for the fact that you're helping me continue doing what I'm doing here, and trying to you know, really do the best that I can to promote shortwave and have great radio guys like you all here. So it's really, really cool. So basically, it's coming soon. Thanks everybody for being here. Great crowd as usual. Once again, next show is coming this Friday. So the next show that we have for shortwave will be on Friday, May 5th, 2000 hours UTC. And yes, that would be cool. Interval signal quiz. Thinking about that. Thanks everybody for being here. Always fantastic for all of you to be here. And I'll plug it everywhere, MDK2. Don't worry about that. I'll plug it everywhere so that everybody knows that I'm having a special show. So it probably will be on a Wednesday. It could be next Wednesday. So don't be surprised if it's as soon as this Wednesday that's coming up. If it's not, it's going to be the week after that. But I wouldn't be surprised it could be this coming Wednesday. So thanks everybody. Hey West P, nice to have you here. Take care. Thank you all for being here. You guys are great. Always fun to do these shows. And it's, you know, partly because of you also. Because it just feels so good to be with all of you guys and girls out there. Take care. Melvin Witcher from UK, thank you very much for being here. You know, there's a lot of silent people in here. There's a lot of people watching that don't really say anything or participate in the chat, but that are still there watching. So thanks a lot for everything. Thanks you guys. We had a very nice steady 60, 70 you know, viewership tonight. So take care all. Always nice to have you all here. see you very soon. At the latest, next Friday, May the 5th, at 2000 hours UTC. And take a look everywhere for that special show that I'll be adding. Who knows, maybe this coming Wednesday. It's very possible. And take care all. Hey, Umberto Molina, nice to have everybody here. Take care all, and see you soon. Stay safe, please. Bye.